in a cold breeze, steel boots on the sand, no ease. Propellers hum the Soviet quest, but the island ain't weak, not less. Hot tanks roaring loud and clear, zombie hula girls, no fear. Tiki terrors rise, eyes ablaze, Soviets drown in the island haze. Island don't surf, island don't win, Tiki terrors won't let them in. Hot tanks make the ground shake, zombie hula girls, hearts won't break. Under moonlight chants they clash, steel meets flame, bones will thrash. Cold War's heat, the island's grip, Tiki rage will never slip. Drums beat, wild waves take hold, Soviet shiver, hearts turn cold. In the depths of night they fail, Tiki terror's ancient tale. Island don't surf, island don't win, Tiki terrors won't let them in. Hot tanks make the ground shake, zombie hula girls, hearts won't break. Hearts won't break.
Howdy, it's your old pal Tiki the Hut. Thanks for joining me again on another Too Late Tonight with Tiki. How's everybody doing? Hey, what's going on, bots? RK, how you guys doing? I'm just waiting on another piece of terrain to dry. I just spray primed it. Sorry, my on these Sundays, my job does go a little bit longer sometimes, so I'm a little bit later to start the streams. So appreciate your patience on that. But with that, I spray primed another piece of terrain. I'm gonna pop it here in a minute. We're gonna work on that, get that painted up, and then we're probably gonna finish up our Captain Slime Wars, and we'll knock out the rest of the mummies. Should be a pretty effective stream. Pretty stoked for it. What's everybody else working on? How's everybody else doing? Hey, what's going on, HS? Hey, what's going on, CV Cooper? It is Saturday for you, good sir. It is Sunday for me currently, and I do stream Eastern time, so. Alright, so I have primed this Sear Gray, so now I'm just going to hit the walls with Agrax Earthshade, and then I'm going to paint this part like brown, like it's wood, kind of like just like a wooden decking area, and then that'll be done. I got 2 of these, so super easy. Hey, what's going on, Bad Rabbit? Nice. Glad that you avoided the tariffs. Yeah. So with that being said, I don't think I'll have the dice ready in time. I don't think it has anything to do with the tariffs, but I think that'll slow it down. So I don't think I'll have custom dice ready for the event. I'll still try and order them, and when I get them, I'll just mail them to the people who won. But I did finalize getting the last of the box of models for the prize support for Clash of the Caribbean. So I'm actually pretty excited. Should be some pretty good prize support. Make the trip worth it. So. It'll definitely be worth it to either be most tactical, most talented, or most Tiki, so highly recommend it. Alright. I swear, whatever paint I'm looking for is always the hardest one to find. I think it's just naturally how it goes. Like, I'm always picking up my Agrax Earthshade when I'm looking for Nolan oil. And then when I'm actually looking for the Agrax Earthshade, first thing I pick up is the Nolan oil. It's not nudist. I sure hope people don't think it is. It'd be a little awkward. They keep that ship kind of cold. Oh, got it. Staring right at me. But I did go ahead and get myself an extra box of orcs just in case just in case everything does get more expensive or harder to find, so. Always like working on some orcs here and there. I'm actually currently building, hey, what's going on, Jenny? Currently building in my off-duty painting stream. You kind of just on the side. I'm actually currently building my my war boss unit for my orcs, my Tiki the Hut. It's a what the hell's this thing called? It's a Death Killer War Trike. But I have a really cool oops, sorry, put the camera. I have a really cool Tiki head to use for my orc, my head orc. So that's gonna be absolutely awesome. Yeah, great Seer Primer with Agrax Earthshade. It is very low effort, but it looks decent on like when you have like walls like this, when you get like a bunch of those walls, super easy way of doing it. Or like fortresses or stuff like that, or temple ruins. I like it. No, that mask is actually a head, and that's going to replace the head of the main orc on the War Trike. Yeah, same here. I'm drinking coffee as well, trying to stay awake. I had a long 12-hour shift today, so and it went right up until literally I had to start the stream. And it was a long one, a lot of incidents at work. But happy to be on the stream. Happy to be chatting and chilling and painting. So as you guys can see, just this little bit of Earthshade. I guess Earthshade just kind of darken the walls a little bit, make them have a little bit more character. Yeah, this combo works super well for cobblestone walls like that. It just goes right to the crevices. Bad Rabbit, it's super easy to vow. You just go to the top of that channel, you know, and there's literally the rules on what needs to be vowed and stuff like that, or you can ask us and we'll answer. And then there's an actual vow statement. You just copy the vow statement, paste it in your message, replace the part that needs to replace, like with your name and what models you're vowing, and then just include a picture of all the models that you're gonna vow with them either just built or just primed one color. And obviously, with us all making our vows, there's a whole bunch of examples. You can literally just steal one of our examples, just reword it. Sure, Bad Rabbit. So if you're familiar with the event, you know, there's different, orgs, or different, detachments. There you go. Different detachments you can vow with different army units. Like there's the Krieg, there's the Catachans, there's the Gene Stealer Cult, there's the Heretics and stuff like that. So that's why I said that channel, you pick whatever channel that you want to make your vow to, or whatever faction. I'm in the Penal Legion, Shitherder Sean's in the Penal Legion, RK's in the Penal Legion, so a lot of us are in the Penal Legion. But there's different detachments you can go for. You go to that channel. If you're not able to view those channels, then when you go to Morden Glory's Discord, you go. Let me make sure I'm giving you the right directions. Let me stop painting and take a look at this. So you go to About the Server. The About the Server part of the Discord for Morden Glory. And it'll literally have a whole bunch of regiments. That's the term I was looking for. I don't know why I said detachments. So it'll have a whole role menu for regiments of renown. You pick which regiment you want to vow for. It has a little symbol, and you just click that symbol at the bottom, and that gives you access to that regiment in the Discord. And then you go to TTC vow, and you make your vow. Yeah, that's right. Sorry, Jenny. Yeah, Jenny's in the Penal Legion as well. Yeah, I saw your Fallout models. Those look really cool. I love painting my Fallout stuff. I said I use a lot of the raiders that are wearing road leathers. I use those guys and just paint them up as tunnel snakes or kings, or in my case raccoons, whatever group you want to use them as. I use a lot of washes on my I use a lot of washes on my false stuff to really kind of give them that aged kind of look. Squigger Sean's got a point. Yeah, don't worry about that. I can't paint. I have a channel, so you know you're good. I mean, no, don't worry about that, Bad Rabbit. You could vow with the Kitty and Shock troops, man. You do whatever you want. I mean, you can always hang out with us. You know, it's not like you have to be part of the Beano Legion. It's always good to branch out. But here's the big rules for the vows. Once you vow, that's your vow. You can't make another vow until you complete that vow. So my recommendation is, you know, vow early and vow small, you know? Or vow often, vow small. You know, so make small vows multiple times. Take it from the rest of us. Don't make a big vow. They look cool to make these big vows. I made a big vow last event. I had like that whole fucking motor pool. What was it like? I think I said it last stream too. Like 8 Shiha tanks, a Kami. I added an extra Kami to it later that wasn't for points. 2 Scorpions, a Ho-Ha. Yeah, it was ridiculous. Don't do that. I recommend small vows. Yeah, I'm thinking about running my my homebrew type of tunnel snakes called the Radcoon. I'm thinking about running them as operators, as the operator raiders, just because they get access to a lot of tin mills. You know, so that kind of fits with the whole tunnel snake vibe. So I'm going to run them as operator raiders, and then I think for my railroad, until they have railroad rules, I'm going to run the railroad as Brotherhood of Steel. Oh, nice, Bad Rabbit. Okay, so you can't just vow one dude. I think you have to vow, like a squad, if that makes sense. So, it can't be like, oh no, because you could do one vehicle. So, yeah, I mean, I guess you could do one, no, because you can't just take a guy. So, just vow him. Oh, I got it. Just vow him as an officer. Easy peasy. So, yeah, just vow him as an officer and just take the points for a regular officer for the Americans. The BAR is not that important. Yeah. Yeah, RK got it. Yeah, so just vow him as... It's not a big deal. Sorry, I just had to think about it for a second. Like I said, I worked all day, so my brain's a little slow. Yeah, it's vow him an officer, not a big deal. Bad Rabbit, like we just said, that the BAR is not that important. So the rules for the event versus the WYSIWYG rules for the game are kind of two separate things, you know. So and also, technically, if you're valuing him as Konflikt 47, you technically can give him a BAR theoretically, but not really. It's not a big deal. It's just a rifle, yeah. So yeah, but the trick is, you have to vow him as a regular. You can't vow him as a veteran or anything like that. Not unless it's a certain... It's a unit that has to be taken as veteran, or it's this particular, like, veteran box. Like, there's some metal boxes that come in as veterans. Like, the Imperial Japanese have some metal veteran models. Or, like, the Snilfs, which are veterans. And they're metal and unique. Yeah, so just look at the points for a bolt action officer. Easy peasy. But the whole point of the event is not really to like get a faction to win or anything like that. It's just to get people to paint. So no worries. We're all taking it super relaxed and chill, and that's the whole point of it. We just want to get people painting, you know, work on all of our collective piles of shame. Yeah. Oh, RK, I think the exception to that if it's a unit that can only be taken as a regular. I mean, if it's a plastic model of a unit that can only be taken as a veteran. I think there's only like a few small examples, you know, but they are out there. Like a good example, like if you're running the Imperial Japanese Army's Airborne. I mean, technically they're Imperial Japanese Army Air Force Airborne, or SNILF. You know, so the SNILF come in metal, but I don't think there may be a metal box for the Imperial Japanese Army Airborne. I think there is, actually, with their dumb little helmets. But if you're building that squad unique with that squad loadout and you're using plastic bits, you can still val them as veterans if the unit can only be taken as veterans, if that makes sense. Yes, the Imperial Japanese do have plastic kits. I think I mentioned this last year, I'm not sure. I worked with Edscar, and I think he's probably a lot of editing. I cussed a lot, so I think he had to edit all that out. But we're working. We did a collab on making 500-point bolt action armies just using the 30-man plastic infantry boxes of most major nations. So I did one for the Imperial Japanese. So yeah, the Imperial Japanese do have a 30-person box. It used to be pretty approachable in price. It's gone up recently now, but you can use it to build a whole 500-point army, which is pretty cool. But yeah, the Imperial Japanese do have plastic models. They also do have a lot of metal models as well. Yeah, I obviously I'm biased, but the Imperial Japanese plastic infantry sprue is really nice. So off the top of my head, without looking at six bodies on the sprue, I think one is prone and one is crouching. You get one shingunto, or one katana in its sheath that you can put on the hip, and you get another katana where like the sheath is in one hand and the sword is in the other hand. You get, you know, one binocular, one Nambu pistol, another actual holster, so that can count as another Nambu pistol just holstered. I think you get 2 light machine guns, 1 light mortar. You get 1 pole, and the pole can either be a flag pole or it can be a lunge mine. Multiple grenades, like 3 or 4 grenades, I think. No, I say 3 or 4. I think it's like 2 grenades. And you get a whole bunch of rifles with and without bayonets. Oh, and you get 1 submachine gun. So that's the only thing they're weak on. You only get 1 submachine gun per 6 bodies, and even then, it's not loaded. It doesn't have a mag in it, so like one hand goes on the submachine gun and the other hand goes on the magazine loading it. You know. And I'll have to look. I'm about 99% sure there is not a sniper rifle. But yeah, I don't think there is. I was gonna say but never mind. So what we're doing right now is we're just kind of slapping on this Agrax Earthshade on this Seer Gray and just kind of getting the walls kind of put in. Once we do the walls, then we'll do the floor. I'll actually start priming the other one of these. I have 2 of these. So, and that'll be just about all our beach assault terrain done. I'm gonna leave the rocks kind of gray. I don't know. I may. I may do. You know. I may play around with the rocks. I may do a different shade on the rocks so they're not as like light gray. I'll see what I want to do with that. I think I have some ideas. But yeah, that's one thing I do recommend. Somebody got it for me as a gift, and I loved it. And I've used it. I think RK was there when I used it for the Malta game. Warlord Games makes a like a stone wall little box, like terrain box. It comes with a shit ton of those little walls and a whole bunch of gates. You can actually build some really cool little walls with it. I love that thing. I use it a lot. I use that in combination with my TT Combat Carnivale paper crafted Venetian buildings, and it makes a decent little like Mediterranean style houses, so you can get away with using them in like Spain or the Mediterranean, Greece, Venice, Italy, anything like that. North Africa, Morocco. We used it for Malta. It's worked pretty well. It looked pretty legit. I always recommend that. It can be expensive for those of us who aren't in the UK because of shipping. But if you happen to be in the UK or in Europe, I always recommend taking a look at TT Combat. They have a lot of good MDF terrain. They're city streets. You can find some pretty good. It's more Atom Punk than Diesel Punk style terrain. Definitely some Fallout themed stuff. Like when you look at it, you can see the Fallout buildings they're talking about, like Starlight Theater and United States Air Force listening station and stuff like that. Like they're all clearly Fallout buildings, but they work pretty well. Battle report win. I'm not gonna lie, it's on my back order. I have so many videos to do and so little time. My priority is Clash of the Caribbean to make sure everything's ready for that event since people are paying to go to it. My other priority is just try and knock out videos when I can. But I do have some other stuff that I'm working on that aren't videos, but are Konflikt 47 related. It's kind of a cryptic thing, but that's taking a little bit of my time as well. Ginny, I would look up. This is just my opinion. I would look at hitting your power armor or like your Mr. Handy and some of your other robots. Hit them with some Nolan oil sometimes, especially like on the joints. Like you still hit like Agrax Earthshade like on the bottom, like on the boots, but on like the insides of the armor, I'd hit them with a little bit of Nolan oil, kind of mix it up a little bit. That'd give you kind of a cool look. Just a thought. But again, I'm the last person ever gets painting advice. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. What was the problem with the SAS? The fact that they're plastic and you need to valve them as veterans? I'm not quite sure. All I know is I think I got it just from Amazon. It just seems very 3D printed. I'm not a 3D printer, so I don't know the type of filament or material used. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. I just know it's 3D printed. Either got it from Amazon or Etsy. I can't quite remember where I got this one from. Oh shit. Sorry I wasn't able to help you, RK. I'm pretty sure that's the rule, but I'll go back and double check his rules. I know he changes his bolt action and Konflikt 47 rules like every event, so I'll go back and check it. But I mean, if you're kit bashing a unit using plastic miniatures that can only be taken as veterans, I don't see the issue. I think the rule of thumb is just don't like abuse it, you know, just for the points. Yeah, RK, you're probably right. I think that is what it is. Sure, there you go. There's your bottom. It just seems normal. I think it's just plastic. I think it is Ender's Toys. I think that's the brand name. I always try and do like my own terrain. I know a lot of the stores I go to, like Warfire Miniatures and stuff like that, they always have amazing terrain, amazing game boards, but I hate relying on other people's terrain. I always kind of want to bring my own, in case I also want to like game at home or something like that, you know? So I always try and bring some kind of terrain and have it ready, that way other people do the same, and we kind of just like put our terrain together and make a battle space. Yeah, and the painting, like I said, I'm just doing it super quick, dirty, and easy. Just hitting it with sea or gray as a spray primer, and then I'm going over the cobble walls with a couple of coats of Agrax Earthshade. It really kind of seeps into the cobblestones. It kind of gives it a little bit of a textured look. I'm not sure what we're going to do for the rocks, though. I don't think we're going to leave them that gray, so we'll see. Hey, what's going on, Squid Fist? How are the technicals coming? Super excited to see them. Oh yeah, it was really hard finding good cars that are like 32mm scale for like Fallout Wasteland Warfare, so I used to have to take like my models. Ironically, the best result I had was at like Walgreens or like a drugstore. They always have like those little cars, those metal cars, and I would just like put my models next to them and figure out what cars were in scale, and then look for like some 1950 style cars. But luckily, a lot of my terrain for Fallout works for Konflikt 47 and vice versa, so... If you haven't seen, I think I posted it in the Konflikt 47 Discord. Somebody was asking about terrain, so I posted some pictures of the Tijuana match I had. 1250 point Konflikt 47 game. I used a lot of my Fallout stuff that I used for like New Vegas and shit like that. So a lot of it was like Western themed and some other stuff. It came out pretty cool, I thought. Um, I geeked out over it because what we did is we took a picture of, we looked at a satellite photo of the map of Tijuana, what it kind of looks like, and we tried to recreate it, you know, somewhat accurately, kind of like a map on Command and Conquer of an area. Like, it's not a one-for-one scale, but you can kind of tell what they did. So we had like the river running through like it does. We had the airport where the airport is, and then we put the police station, the security checkpoint, and the brothels closer to the American side of the border. And then when you cross the river in the further south, you went to kind of more shanties and bars and back alleys there were. So there's a huge like church and graveyard. It was pretty cool. Another good one. It's expensive. I mean, everything is. But the Marvel, what's it called? Marvel Crisis or something like that. I don't know the name of the Marvel tabletop, but that actually has some decent terrain sometimes. But for terrain, I'll always recommend Tiki Combat, only because they have such a wide selection. I built so much of their stuff that I can actually personally attest to it. And RK knows how much I absolutely love. RK and Irish know how much I love my little paper buildings. They come like 10 buildings to a pack, and it's like a flat pack, so they're easy to pack, and you can literally build a fucking battle space pretty quickly. So I'm a huge fan of that. I'll always sing their praises to the moon. I don't see anybody else use them. They're meant for Carnivale, which is a Venetian small squad combat game. It plays kind of like an Assassin's Creed mixed with Cthulhu shit. It's really fucking cool. Luckily, if you want to get into Fallout, though, I recommend taking a look at Etsy. There's a lot of cool people who make Fallout Wasteland Warfare, Fallout Factions, either game. Fallout Factions plays like Necromunda. Wasteland Warfare plays like Warhammer 40k Crusade, except there's also base building. Very, very loose definition, but as accurate as I can, right? But if you want to get into it, take a look on Etsy. There's some people who sell they sell modular plastic kits, so you can actually build your own vault dwellers or your own power armor, and you can choose what weapons they have. And the new kits, the new plastic kits from Odysseus are also modular. Right now they only have Raiders out, and I think they're just about to release Brotherhood of Steel in a modular set, so you can actually pick what weapons go where. So it's pretty cool. Hey, Steven Bonner, what's going on, buddy? Hey, thanks, Stevie Cooper, I appreciate it. Yep. Being super lazy and fast with it, but so we just hit this this comes as dark gray, you know, plastic printed, and what we're doing is we hit it with Sear Gray as a spray primer. We're just going over the wall itself with Agrax Earthshade. I think I'm probably gonna do this in brown like wood. You know, so it's like a wooden deck kind of thing. I may leave the rocks as they are, or I may shade the rocks, I'm not sure. But another thing to look at is Zona Alpha models. That's another good thing to look at for Konflikt 47. There's a lot of good Zona Alpha miniatures you can find on Etsy and eBay, and more importantly, you can find really good terrain. That's another really good place to find terrain for Konflikt 47. I forgot to mention that to the other person. Check Etsy, but instead of looking up Konflikt 47, there's not much out there. Look up Zona Alpha, and the Alpha is not spelled the Celestial way, it's spelled the NATO Phonetic way, ALFA. So it's Zona Alpha ALFA. Probably not HS. I do have Hodgepodge, but I probably won't use it. So the lines are actually, the reason why it's lines right there, I kind of like that. That's why I'm going to do that in wood. So it kind of just looks like pressed wood, you know? I'm not sure yet, but probably not. I should, but I'm trying to speed paint these to get them ready for the event in October. I know, October seems like a far time away, but it's not. It's my first event, and I don't want to get all Fire Festival, so I'm trying to bust my ass off now. Yeah, Zona, no, not Zone of Alpha, it's Zona, Z-O-N-A, Alpha, A-L-F-A. Yeah. So what Zona Alpha is, if you guys aren't familiar with it, which I also, it's a solo play, you can play it solo, or you can play it with other people. What Zona Alpha is it's a tabletop game that's very similar to Stalker or Metro, if you like those genres. It's based upon the Roadside Picnic Russian sci-fi book. So it's basically I got it. I'm sorry, I'm over here blabbering. It's basically an extraction shooter tabletop war game. It's exactly what it's an extraction shooter. So you go in with a couple mercenaries, you know, and you stumble into these artifacts, and it could be a valuable artifact or anomaly, or it could be zombies or mutant bears or God knows what. It could beat the living shit out of you, and you only get what you take out of the exclusion zone. So if you like things like Warzone on Call of Duty and stuff like that, it's exactly what Zona Alpha is. It's an extraction shooter, but it's much more Stalker and Metro themed. Yeah. There's also, all you need is just the blue book. It's a blue Osprey book called Zona Alpha. Pretty sure, yeah. But there's also an update called Contraband, spelled with a K, and it's pretty cool. What it does is it has additional rules and additional like classes you can take. It's a little bit more specialized. Like Zona Alpha is easy to play, kind of like Gaslands, and Contraband kind of zooms in and makes it a little bit more complex. Yeah, I think Contraband has factions, like you'll have like religious zealot factions or merc factions, or like I'm trying to think of the Russian name for it. Almost like a Bratva, like a Russian mobster faction of scientist factions. It's pretty neat. Yeah, so if you dream of like Gopnik squats and your Adidas pants, you know, with like your old school gas mask, like drinking vodka and stuff like that, yeah, I'd give. Or if you have if you live alone and you have a hard time making friends, you know, kind of like Squig Hunter Sean, definitely take a look at Zone Alpha so that you can actually play by yourself. It's actually a lot of fun. I know it because I use those rules plus the Gasland rules to make kind of a Mad Max TTRPG, and it was a lot of fun. I don't. Despite my terrible accent, I actually do not speak Russian. Not a lick. Roger crotch off. That's funny. It was a dig at Squig. That's exactly what it was. He had it coming. Old Tubbs there sitting passenger seat's been talking shit for like 2 days. I did fall victim to it though, Sugar Sean. I do have another set of Orc Commandos coming in. I'm a sucker for that. Of course, they don't make it anymore. They do, it's just expensive. I'm a sucker for that kill team they released. Like, I love the ones that CB Cooper sent me. I love the sculpt of those guys. Of those Blood Axe Commandos. So I found another set of them and I rescued them from eBay. Those are gonna be that's gonna be my second orc army, my WoW Vice. So it's probably gonna be hey, what's going on, Commander? So it's probably, like I said, I have my Moto Surfers, you know, so it's like my evil sons. My main orc faction. My other orc faction is going to be made up of commandos, DACA, what are they called? DACA copters and DACA jets. Ace bandages. I see it. Ace bandages is pretty good. No, I showed this earlier, but I'll show you guys again. I'm actually working on my my Orc Warlord, building it, because today was a really stressful day at work, so I didn't get a chance to get very far in it. I was very busy. Like, here's the you know, let me turn down my brightness. Here's the Orc head for my Death Killer War Trike. As you can see, the mouth is actually a head. It's an Orc head with like tusk and a Tiki mask. It's pretty fucking badass. It comes with like a whole like Weird Boy Shaman. But I'm gonna use the Weird Boy Shaman as another Pain Boy. So yeah, I missed the Chin Orc. I couldn't believe the Chin Orc until you guys told me. I couldn't believe that was a real fucking thing. That was so badass. Yeah, I went with Tubbs because you're effortlessly cool, but you also don't look like you put up with shit, you know? And plus, who doesn't like a sawed-off side-by-side, you know? If you guys don't know the Tubbs and Crockett references to Miami Vice, that's where the WoW Vice things come from. And I do plan on giving them like one or two of the shit, I can never think of the name of the orc buggy. The shock jump dragsta. There it is. Yeah, I do plan on giving them one or two shock jump dragstas. Person on the wrong end doesn't have much time to really think about it. Ooh, so story time. Have I? Let me know, because my memory's kind of shit. When I work a lot of hours, my memory goes away. Have I told you guys the story about the time I almost got shot with a shotgun? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat if we talked about this story or not. It's a pretty good one. It does take a little bit of maturity. You guys have to understand the full story. Don't judge me. I'm just gonna tell it as accurately as I can. So when you guys are ready, I'll tell you, if I haven't already. If not, that'll be today's Tiki story, the time I almost got blasted with a shotgun. We'll see what the chat says. He's like, I remember that. Yeah, for those of you who might be new to the stream, I do share some of my stories. So there's a caveat with the stories. They're all mostly true, and there's like a 90% chance they actually happen to me. I do introduce random variables into the story, and sometimes I use other people's stories, and that's just for legal protection. So if you guys remember the waterborne assault from the Special Forces jet ski people at the golf course, you know, this happened right near that. If you remember that story. All right, sweet. Let me put a couple more coats on there, and when I swap the wood, I'll start telling the story. Yeah, those jet ski people ended up just being like lost tourists in a storm. You know, that was a long night and a funny story. And all I wanted was my damn Skittles that were dry in my truck. All right. Nice, bots. Hope it's going well. Extremely close, Squig and Rashawn. Yes, it does happen in what we call our family camp or fam camp, and that's where a lot of retirees live in their RVs. So this event happens after, I don't think I told this. No, that was a little dark. I didn't tell that story. So that happened after that one crime. I don't think I told that story, so I'll save it. It's pretty dark. I don't know if it's funny. There's dark humor to it, but I think it's too dark for stream. This event happens after I come back from my deployment, and that's extremely important. All right. So setting the scene, this is at a military base that has water access. It's very popular with retirees because of the state that it's in. And so the family camp, or fam camp for short, usually it's just a place for people to park their RVs when they come down on vacation, you know, with their families, and they can have access to the marina and stuff like that. So, but in this one, you have military retirees, most of them not 20 year, most of them just medical retirees, and a lot of them super sketchy. They just live there year round. Yeah, basically it's a trailer park on base, but everyone there thinks they're special because they're retired. And you never know, one person could be like a 30-year-old Bubba, you know, who did 2 years in and got medically retired, and the next trailer over could be a retired 2-star general. You never fucking know who's in the fam camp. Nice, Rabbit. Congratulations on your vow. Alright, so fam camp's always a problem, and everyone avoids it on patrol. Except for me. I'm stupid. I go down to fam camp all the time. So this incident starts, oh god, this is a long incident. So again, I'm going to tell the story as is, and it takes a lot of maturity. I may talk about things that could be kind of awkward in nature, but you have to understand this is from a military law enforcement standpoint, so don't freak out. So this whole situation starts up at the front gate. We had a vehicle with 2 drunk individuals coming through the main gate. I'm the police supervisor for the base at the time, so I'm the guy out on the road, and I have 2 or 3 patrol vehicles underneath me, and I have all my gates, right? And this is at night. So I have 2 drunk individuals, males, show up in a vehicle drunk at the main gate. Awkward. So I go up there to handle it. On my way up there, I'm kind of taking my time, like not a big deal. We don't like dealing with drunks, especially drunk civilians. We usually just keep them in the car until the civilian police show up. That way they have like clear view and they can like hook them and book them. So we're on our way there, and I get a call like, "Hey, can you expedite? Like, hey, can you get here code 3? They're starting to get froggy." I'll never forget. This is like probably like 2. It's just started getting dark. That comes important later. So it's like 2 hours into shift, you know. So I basically just posted all my guys. Just made like a shop ad or chow run for all of them, so I'm just trying to get into my groove for my 12-hour shift, and shit kicks off. So I go ahead and route to the main gate, and there are 2 individuals, they're pretty Caucasian, so 2 Caucasian males, drunk, getting out of a Ford Focus. They keep screaming and yelling at the gate guards, and eventually one tries to push one of the gate guards, and this is as I'm getting out of my vehicle and walking up. So 2 other gate guards grab the guy, pin his arms, throw him up against the wall, and kind of take him down to the ground. So then the other passenger starts losing his shit and starts screaming and spitting at the gate guards. And as people try and get close, he keeps like throwing stuff from the car at them, like trash, like McDonald's bags and like random plastic bags full of shit, right? He's just throwing stuff at people. So as we get close to him, he's like, "Oh, you're not going to get me on the ground, you're not going to get me on the ground." So he starts digging in the car, and we don't know what he's digging for. It could be a weapon, could be anything, right? So as I approach, me personally, I don't play fuck games, right? So I pull the X26 electronic control device, what's commonly known as a taser. I set the setting on just laser. It has a setting where you can put it on light, laser, or both, or neither. So I set it on just laser, and I have it drawn behind my back. And we walk up, and I don't challenge him. I let my gate guard challenge him. I just try and position myself behind the subject. And the reason for that is, if you don't know how electronic control devices work, let me give you a brief synopsis. So proper utilization of electronic control device, or taser is the brand name, is it introduces neuromuscular interference. Think about trying to broadcast over a radio and someone holding down the talk button or putting static across the radio and you can't hear it. That's what it does, but it stops it from going from your brain to whatever limb you're trying to move. It just kind of blocks that out. It hurts, but not that much, right? So, but the whole point is you need to get a spread across. You get a spread across the back of the target, because the closer you get to the central nervous system, the more effective it is, right? So usually you aim for about the waist, and it deploys one above, one below, and you get a good cross across the spine. And then when they go down, you put it on their ankle and complete the whole circuit, right? So there's a science to it, right? It's not just you pull it and shoot. You know, I play Ready or Not like everybody else, but tasers don't work like they do in the game. there's some understanding to it, right? So I'm walking up behind the guy. I got the whole laser drawn, and he keeps digging around in his car, and then he comes out with a broom out of the back seat of the Ford Focus, and he starts trying to swing it at people. You know, so we do what we're trained: take aim at his waist. You know, squeeze the flick it on, squeeze the trigger, and the prongs deploy, and he takes a 5-second ride. So he goes down, and he's taking a 5-second ride. I approach him, keep the cartridge on, and I put it right near the ankle. And we advise him, like, hey, if you do not comply, you know, we will give you another 5-second ride on the electronic control device. He doesn't listen, so we squeeze it again. He takes another 5-second ride. And by then, the flight chief and everybody else is showing up. Like, once you deploy a taser, also, if you don't know, when you deploy a taser and the cartridge and the prongs come out of the cartridge, it shoots a whole bunch of metal confetti. And those all have serial numbers on it that are attached to the cartridge. So it's a very controlled situation. So there's a whole bunch of, when you deploy a taser, there's evidence everywhere, right? It's not something you do and don't say anything to anybody. I mean, it's a huge deal. So we tase the guy and he goes down. And then we give him another 5-second ride. And luckily the flight chief, everybody else shows up, which I'm like, oh, thank Christ, you know. So the other guy's handcuffed. He's ready to be transported. We get this guy handcuffed, and he's fine. And as we're picking him up, I'm sorry, no, we didn't handcuff. We wanted to. I'm sorry, I forgot about this part. We handcuffed him once he's standing up. So he's on the ground. They tell us not to handcuff him while he's on the ground, because he's like freaking out. So we stand him up, and we're handcuffing him, or we're moving to. So they have one hand behind his back. And this is the part where, again, you have to understand this is what actually happened, so a little bit of maturity here. So he tells us, in his exact words, don't freak out, don't cancel me. He says, haha. Again, this is 2015, right? He's like, haha, joke's on you, I'm HIV positive. And he grabs the prongs, pulls them out, and throws them at us, right? So the prongs do pierce, so there is blood on the prongs. So he pulls the prongs and throws them at us. And this is a situation of all of our training I'd not thought about in a million years. So I was like, oh, I never thought about them throwing the bloody prongs at us with it being HIV positive. I was like, oh, technically that's assault with a deadly weapon. So they tackle him back down again, and they handcuff him. And now we have to call fire protection, and the CBRN office, chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, and high yield explosive, to come and fully desanitize the main gate shack, because this guy threw his bloody prongs and advised us that he was HIV positive. We haven't even got to the point of the story. This is just the precursor, right? This is just a prequel of the shit. So you can imagine the paperwork. First off, those two guys go to jail. Like we cuffed them, we booked them, we put them in our containment unit, and then when civilian police came, they hooked and booked those guys and hauled them away. They were just civilians, right? And they had a base pass because somebody was staying on base, and we're about to get to that. So these guys weren't military or anything, they're just two drunk civilians. So luckily, from what we understood, is they tested his blood and he actually was not positive for HIV. So thank God for that. Neither me nor, more importantly, none of my guys and girls were exposed, which is something we really worried about. So we're good there, and I think everything's good. Like she said, mountain of paperwork. We think we're done. And this is like, so that happened like 2 hours into the shift, right? It's like a 12-hour shift. So now I'm like towards the end of shift, and I get a call back like, hey, you remember that case or where the guy pulled the prongs? Like, yeah, that just happened. I'm not going to forget the case. Like, I'm the guy who tased him. Yeah, I remember him pulling out our prongs and throwing blood everywhere, right? Like, yeah, so turns out they had base access because one of them was the caretaker for their grandmother. I was like, okay, who gives a shit? Like, yeah, their grandmother lives on fam camp. And I was like, ah, shit. So now we have to go do what we call a wellness inspection, right? So we have to go do a health and wellness inspection on this grandmother because he's freaking out saying he can't be held in jail because she has dementia and he has to come in and check in with her, otherwise she's gonna go crazy. And we're like, oh god. So they asked like, hey, does she have any danger? Is there any pills or anything like that? He's like, I'm not gonna tell you. He's like, go find out for yourself. So I get sit down there, and we had just gotten a new kid, right? I'm talking fuck F&G new guy. This is his first week. So he was been doing all his paperwork, and when this whole thing went down, I mean, he was excited. He wanted to come out. They didn't let him out of the Base Defense Operations Center. We call it BDOC. They didn't let him out of the desk. So he's sitting there the whole time doing all this stupid computer-based training about like LOAC and law of armed conflict, use of force. He's doing all this bullshit paperwork you have to do when you first get onto a unit, right? But the flight chief's like, hey, because all my other people we are taking turns doing paperwork. So the way that works is we have to sit down and do like 2 hours with the paperwork. And then when we're done, I had to grab one of my troops and replace the other troop so they can come in and do 2 hours of paperwork. That way they don't have to stay after shift. So I'm using my partner, my alpha, to sub out other guys so they can fill out their statements because we're all there when we tased them and he threw the prongs at us. So I don't have an alpha, and I'm not about to go fam camp by myself. So I'm like, look, I need an alpha. I was like, you want to go? I was talking to Flight Chief. Flight Chief's like, fuck no. He's like, take the new guy. I was like, all right, I'll take the new guy. The new guy's perfectly cool dude. First base. This is his first base. He's fresh out of tech school. He's excited. He's wearing his uniform. He keeps fixing his you can tell, brand new beret. He's got his blue beret. He's fixing it all nice. He's all excited. He's like, and he gets his weapon, his rifle, and his pistol, and he comes to sit in the truck. I'm like, all right, here's what's gonna happen. So we're gonna go down to fam camp. I was like, we're not sure what trailer it is. We know roughly which one it is because of the visitor pass. We're gonna have to find this guy's grandmother and check in on her. Maybe she needs medicine. Maybe she needs that. I was like, I already let fire know so they can have a medical unit on standby in case something happens. I was like, probably it's just gonna be a prescription pill thing. I was like, but if we're lucky, maybe he's hiding drugs in the trailer, so maybe we'll actually get like a drug bust. It's kind of cool. I was like, biggest thing, wear your gloves, right? Always wear your gloves. I was like, we don't know what's going on. If you just heard about the whole HIV thing, wear your gloves, right? PPE. So he's like, all right, cool, got it. And this part's important, right? So I put on my gloves. This isn't one of those like lame tactical SEAL books where they all talk about the gear they have, right? But my quote unquote tactical gear, my gloves that I prefer, are Nomex flight gloves. If you know, you know. So I have OD green Nomex flight gloves. Wore them my whole career. They're great. So I'm putting on my gloves, and rolling down the sleeves of them. And this guy puts on the issued gloves you get in tech school. So the issued gloves you get in tech school are these like Wiley X or some tactical company, probably Blackhawk. I don't fucking know. But they're black. They're solid black gloves with like the knuckle dusters, like the plastic Kevlar reinforced knuckles, which just looks bad. This guy puts on black gloves, and he gets in his uniform, And so we start heading down to fam camp. So we get out there, we park the truck in the light. You know, we don't run code, so we're just driving down there. No lights, no sirens or anything. We don't want to spook anybody. So we get down there, we're kind of walking around, we find the trailer. So I tell them, like, hey, usually we do like a 360 walk around. But, you know, she could be paranoid, we don't know. So what we're going to do, we don't know if there's any weapons or not either. So what we're going to do is we're going to stop and listen. It's like, so come here, crouched, we're going to listen for a little while. See what we hear. Maybe we hear Jeopardy, maybe we hear snoring. Maybe we hear someone like hacking with machete, we don't fucking know, right? So we just like kind of sit there and kneel. This guy looks like a textbook poster, like right out of like tech school. I mean, he's like kneeling with like his back straight and everything, like almost like listening with his ear. I was like, Jesus, this guy, right? Meanwhile, I like slowly get down on one knee and I can hear my bones creaking and I was like, oh God, my life. So we listened for a while. It's always a good thing, right? Whenever you get on site, you don't immediately run up and knock on the door. You want to listen for a little while, kind of find out what's going on, get a feel for the environment, you know? Because usually once you knock on the door, if you show up with your lights flashing or your siren, people know you're coming and they start like hiding evidence, flushing evidence, or they stop beating each other. You know, this is for like domestics. If you kind of like park further down and you kind of walk up, you can hear the domestic happening. It's generally a lot easier, right? So, so we go up there. I tell them to kind of stand back. I'm like, hey, here's how it's gonna work. We did a quick walk around. There's no other doors. You know, I was like, all right, so the way this 360 is gonna work, we have a car parked in one part, and the camera from the truck can view that corner of the house. I was like, I want you to stand on the other corner of the house, and then I'll go and make entry at the door, right? I was like, just kind of stand back and don't say anything, right? He's like, okay, cool, I got that. I was like, you'll know if you need to come up. I was like, I'll get your attention. So I walk up, and I like to think I'm somewhat charismatic, especially back then. You know, I was a lot skinnier and a lot happier. Because I just came back from deployment, and I was getting into the guard, so I gave no shits, right? So I'm like, yeah, let me go check on Grandma. Maybe Grandma's fine, you know. Maybe sweet talk Granny, everything will be alright. I was like, shoot, maybe she'll have like some candies or something. We'll see what happens, right? So I walk up, and I rap on this like cheap screen door, and there's nothing. Like, huh. So I kind of, and same thing, you don't silhouette the doorway, it's a fatal funnel, you know? So I kind of walk up, I knock, and I step back down the stairs, and I kind of stand to the side. I look, listen, don't hear anything, so I come up, knock for a second time, introduce myself, like, hey, this is, you know, rank, name with, you know, this squadron. Can you please come to the door? You know, nothing. So I'm like, huh, this is kind of good. So I step back up, and I knock on the door a third time, and then I kind of peek around the corner, and that's when I see it. And this is one of those moments, no bullshit, like, it's like going into VATS mode for Fallout, right? Your whole life just kind of stops and slows down for a minute. I'm looking, and I see a face. This face is scared of everything in the whole world. I've never seen someone so scared in my life, right? I see this terrified face. I see no bullshit, hair and curlers, right? With like a robe, like that classic look, and then I see it. It is the long, dark barrel of a single-shot 410. How do you know it's a 410? Because it looked like a shotgun, but not as big as a 12 gauge, right? So, definitely wasn't a 20 gauge. It was definitely later we found out it was also a 410. So, kind of looking through the screen door, and I could see this 410 barrel pointed right at my face. In the back of my head, I immediately thought, I'm like, this is it. I survived a whole deployment, artillery rounds, IDs, V-beds, and I get taken out by an old lady with a fucking 410. Like some shitty country song, right? And I immediately kind of like pop my head back, like, oh, ma'am, I need you to go ahead and put that weapon down. As soon as I say weapon, my alpha partner freaks out and he starts like, you know, like swinging back and grabbing his rifle. And I'm like, don't do it, you know? And then she just starts screaming at us. She's like, no, you guys aren't going to take me again. We're like, take you again? What are you talking about? She's like, no. She's like, I saw what you did to my family. I'm not going to let you guys take me again. I'm thinking she's some kind of like Ruby Ridge or like Waco thing. No, apparently she's old as fuck and is from Europe. And she literally said, she's like, I saw you goose stepping beret wearing motherfuckers out there. We're like, and she's like, I could see your partner out there. She's like, he's hiding. She's like, she screams. She's like, I can see him with his camo paint. He's hiding around the corner. So this is the part I gotta tell you. My alpha just so happened to be African American. So he looked at me and she's like, I'm not wearing shit. She was like, no, you goose-stepping beret-wearing motherfuckers aren't going to take me this time. She's like, I'm not giving in to no Nazi. We're like, ma'am, we're not the Nazis. I was like, this is base security. Please put the shotgun down. She's like, no, I'm just waiting for my son. Like, hey, is your son, you know, so-and-so, so-and-so, do they drive a red Ford Fusion? She's like, what have you done with my son? She's like, I ain't putting up with no Gestapo. I was like, man, we're not the Gestapo, please. I was like, your son got drunk with his boyfriend and had an altercation at the gate. And then she lost it, and I won't repeat what she said. She went into a very, very older generation rant about her son and his romantic choices for like a good solid 5 minutes. And then finally, we got more units to kind of show up, you know? And we're like, hey, subject has a firearm and stuff like that. And luckily, my alpha, after he said, he's like, man, I ain't wearing shit. Luckily, he still had his rifle out. So we kind of challenged the lady. She put the shotgun down. She came out. We cuffed her. Turns out she has dementia. It was a real shotgun, a real 410 shotgun that was not supposed to be on base. That was not registered. And apparently, apparently she was like a, what do you call it, like an East German, I guess. And she married a soldier during the Cold War or whatever. And he died, but she still has the ability to live on base as like a widowed of a veteran. So she lives in that trailer. And she has a, it's not her son, it was her grandson apparently. But he just kind of like mooches off of her, and she doesn't know that because she has dementia. So, long story short, he was just mooching off her for a place to live. And just going on and off base all the time. I guess he just thought he'd get past us, you know, like we're not real cops at the gate. But having to go check on his grandmother, dude, she was sitting there ready with a fucking 410 shotgun ready to blast me right in the face. So I had a fun first shift way back in the day when I think I told you guys the story when the PKK did a drive-by on me and my buddy. We're just drinking tea with some Turks. But luckily I got to pass on the that's the same thing I told the F&G. I got to pass on the tradition. I was like, well, if it makes you feel better, I got shot at on my first day. I was like, at least you get shot at. that kid was a good troop, but he was sweating bullets, dude. He came back like, oh hell yeah, is this what it's like all the time? I was like, no. This will happen like twice in your career, if that. Like, no. So, dude, he was absolutely excited. My favorite part of the story, and I always kind of save it for the end, is, you know, he did happen to be a African American, and so she's in the screen, it's like, he's wearing camo paint, hiding in there with his beret. I could see him. And turn to look at him. He's like, I ain't wearing shit. Oh god, it was classic. I met a lot of other people. So I'm not. It sounds like I'm being Billy Badass, but I'm not. You know, I can't describe it enough. I just came back from a deployment, and it was a wild deployment where a bunch of wild shit happened. So by then, I'd already been kind of checked out, and I just didn't give a shit. It's kind of like that survivor guilt mixed with like you just don't give a shit anymore. Like when your number's up kind of thing. It's kind of like when you get down range and you hear the first mortar rocket attack, you freak out. But then you heard like the 100th one, you're like, if it hits me, it hits me. I don't give a shit anymore. I still had that I don't give a shit anymore feeling when I came back. Right, RK, yeah, it sounded very similar to that Spaceball thing. Like, we ain't found shit. And he's like, man, I'm not wearing shit. But what didn't help was that he was wearing those like dark, those black gloves as well too. So he was like trying to wave, and every time oh man, it just didn't help. When he showed up, I mean, he was just prim and proper, full vest, full military kit. She like lost her mind. Nice, man, Lark. That's a good joke. I like that one. Yeah, military law enforcement. You can get some good stories out of it, man. Man, we ain't found shit. I don't think that's my favorite. I think my favorite story is still the Batman machine gunner on the Humvee. But that is one of my other stories I have. It's always funny how the story actually starts out, because it doesn't even start out with the old lady like a random fam camp call. It actually starts out as a whole issue at the front gate and the whole HIV thing. Oh god, that was a long night of paperwork. I think I only had like a month left on flight after that before I finally got to hit my my leave, and then I got to Palace Front right into the guard. Yeah, the Batman gunner was pretty fucking awesome. But yeah, don't let me be a recruiter, man. Like I said, these are just some of my stories. Your mileage may vary. I know some people who who joined and did nothing for like 6 years and hated every second of it. I always having to find myself like in just bad situations. Oh, dude, anytime. And before anyone like freaks out, I'm not selling these stories. Like, I'm not trading them for money or glory or anything like that. They're just kind of funny stories, you know. I'm just trying to keep the memories alive, you know. And I don't share the really bad ones. Like I said, there's some with all for every good time, there's like 3 or 4 bad times, and I generally don't share the bad times with you guys just because it's not necessary, you know. So before people freaks out, like, oh, he just tells us all his, you know, gory stories. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't share the bad ones. Like I said, that was not my only trip to paint camp. I've been to paint camp multiple times. Some of them were some really bad stuff too. So just remember that when people do tell you stories, there's always like bad stories they don't tell you. So I don't think it's all. You guys seem pretty mature, so I don't think y'all do, but it's not always fun stuff. I think I still, like I said, and I haven't told them all. I still have some good stories. I don't think I told you guys the ghost hunting story. Maybe I did. I think I have. I think I told it on Halloween, actually. The ghost hunting story. I still have the naked lady in the trunk story. That's a good one. Oh shit, Sean, that cracks me up. But yeah, if you ever had a shotgun pointing at you, that whole thing when we talked about the side by side pointing at you, RK, it reminded me of that story. You know, I peeked around that corner like the third time I saw that barrel. I'm like, ah, shit. This is how it goes, you know. Of all the stuff that's happened in my life, I go right here in a trailer park, you know, at fam camp from a 410 for an old lady. The worst part is in the back of my head, I'm like, I'm gonna be a cautionary tale for like every security forces person coming through for the next 20 years, you know? Like, don't be in the fatal funnel, you'll get shot by with an old lady with a shotgun like so-and-so. Ginny, did you just run around screaming that name and find her? That'd be pretty good. No, I'm not I'm not well known or famous in the hold on. No, I'm not well known or not famous in my career field at all. No. We have a lot of badass heroes and a lot of cool stories. I'm definitely not one of them. We have Phoenix Ravens, we have Turf Ninjas. Now we have, I think they're called Air Commandos. When I was in them, we were called Daggers. Like, there's a lot more badass people. The worst part is I feel like that new kid had the same thing I had. Where like on my first day we got shot at by the PKK, and I'm like, hell yeah! I was like, it's literally that joke from what is that 21 Jump Street. It's like we're joining a a job of badasses. Your first day you're like, oh, this is awesome, and then it never happened again until I got deployed. Damn it! Did I say tech sergeant? Hopefully I didn't say the rank. No, I didn't make E6 until I went to the guard. I stayed a regular E5 regular staff sergeant for a long time. Active duty I never raised above staff sergeant, which is nice. It's a good rank to have. I think I just said rank, but you cannot entertain yourself while playing Connect the Dots. Funny you mentioned that. I don't know if you guys saw the funny thing in the news. Not getting political, I think it's a humorous thing. If you guys saw what happened, it's kind of an older story now, but if you saw what happened between the People's Liberation Army Navy destroyer and the People's Coast Guard versus the Filipino Coast Guard, that's actually a hilarious story. I recommend you look it up. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, no, I got out as a tech sergeant, so at that time I was just a staff. Only 15 vehicles left in your Val. Jesus, RK. Did you learn nothing from us? No, I do recommend the E6 rank though. That's a good time. Like, it's the last rank you have before you hit senior NCO. You guys started a lot more paperwork and you're charged a lot more people. Like, as a tech sergeant, you're really just kind of like raising sergeants, which is kind of cool. I'll never forget my troops in my guard unit. So when we started the guard unit, they were all like A1Cs and senior airmen. And in the guard, your billet goes up to E5, right? So by the time we all left, a lot of them cross-trained, I left, and stuff like that. I was still a tech sergeant, like I just rise to tech sergeant. Turned down my E7 billet, and they had all made staff, and some of them made tech. And so they made this cool picture. It's a meme of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like Splinter's walking, all the turtles are little. They had that, but they were all like airmen with like the airman stripes. And then the old one, it's like an older, shorter, like Splinter, and then everybody else, all the turtles were like much taller, and they all had like staff ranks on them and stuff like that. I'm not describing the meme very well, but it's a pretty funny meme. I still talk to a lot of them, a bunch of good dudes. Yeah, Larkin, it was a good rank. Most people just leave you the fuck alone the whole time. It's pretty nice. Nice. Good PA skills. Oh, let's see what we got going on here. Oh, Jesus. Alright, we are chipping away at this terrain. Like I said, we're gonna get all this brown in, like a kind of like a dirt flooring kind of thing. I was gonna go with wood, but I guess it kind of looks like wood or dirt. Don't really matter. And we'll hit these walls with another shade, and I think we'll move on to the next one. I'll paint that another day. We'll probably move on to painting him, and then moving on to some mummies. Yeah, I don't know why people do that when they say like trite things like at checkout, like you don't have to make small talk. Like I'm not a mean guy, but I don't really make small talk unless like someone makes it with me. Because I figured the person who has to be there for hours and hours, if they want to do small talk, they'll make small talk. If they don't want to talk to you, they don't want to talk to you. You know? So I just try to have my stuff ready, have my payment method handy, and answer any question they have. I always find it weird that people who like chat up service workers. Like, I'm not saying not be friendly, but you know what I mean, like go out of their way to have a conversation with them. I'm like, hey, you know that they're working, like I just painted it nothing. That's just the texture from the 3D print. I'm just painting it with a base paint, just kind of like dry brushing it on, trying to get like a wood effect. It's just a happy accident. Nothing I kind of planned. I saw that it kind of had like those lines in it, so I'm like, oh, if I paint it brown, maybe it'll look like wood. No, I mean, not all business. I just don't want to inconvenience people, you know? I just don't like holding people conversationally hostage, especially when they're like being paid hourly. I feel like it's weird. It's okay, Tiki, you can talk to us. Yeah, that's true. It does fulfill my social requirement for the week, you know? No, yeah, I mean, you guys do keep coming back, which is a good sign, but I hope you guys enjoy the stream. That's awesome, CB Cooper, man. I'm super glad to hear CB Cooper, and that makes doing the stream all worth it, you know? As cheesy and as trite as it sounds, I don't do the stream for me. I mean, it's nice to catch up on all my models, obviously, but you know, like I said, I literally just do it for. It's kind of like having a. It's why I don't have a Discord. You know, I was like, why have a Discord when I can just have a twice weekly stream. It's the same thing. We're all just chatting here, you know. So it really is just a stream for all of us, you know. We all if we're off duty, we all kind of like paint and stuff like that and catch up, or we're all stuck at work or stuck on a drive. I'm afraid for the drone repercussions. The drone strikes will continue until you watch. See, I have coworkers who like in our job, like on a slower day, they'll look for work. I don't do that because my job's stressful enough. Like someday, like today was a rough day. Today was a very rough day. So I'm like, look, you're gonna have good days, you're gonna have rough days. Like don't look for work on a good day. Just enjoy it for what it is, because you're gonna get those days. It's not like they're coming down the pipe. You're gonna get those hard days. I can say I honestly give a hard 75% effort at work. You know, I still do everything I'm supposed to do, right? But get 75 to 80%. But when shit kicks up, I kick it up to 100. You know, then when that backs down, I scale it back down again, you know? I don't show up and give 100% all the time. I've never understood that concept. I always thought it was fucking weird, so I get burnt out. My goal is just to earn my pay. If I feel like I earn my pay for the day, I feel good. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame Going Dutch isn't on Audible, unfortunately. So everyone knows Seaforth Ladies is the Konflikt 47 novella for OG Konflikt 47, and it has a sequel called Going Dutch, but only Seaforth Ladies is on Audible for some reason. It's been so long since I read them, I don't remember what happens in each book. They kind of just, I read them like back to back, so they kind of just flow together. No, like I said, no judgment of those who do work 100%. I think it's badass. You guys are heroes. I don't. But I'm ready to flip that switch, like I said. But that's it comes with working. I've worked this type of job for a long time, you know, and it's a very reactive job with a very short window of response time. You have to be very quick, so. But not being burned out is probably why I'm able to take so much overtime and not like freak out and punch the wall or anything. It has the advantages and disadvantages, of course, like anything else. We can't all just like sit in our cabins off in the woods and hunt down tourists and sew their skin into lamps and sell them to antique stores like Shitherder Sean. Nice, man, Larkin. I like it. That's pretty good, man, Larkin. I like that. Ooh, CB Cooper, that does sound interesting. I'm still reading through my battle on the our book on the Battle of Pensacola, and 18. Shit, no, I forgot the year. I think it's 1873. No, not 73. 83. 73, idiot. Sorry, 1883. Pretty sure. 83 or 85. I think it's 83. Clearly, I haven't read anything from it in a little while. I've been busy trying to get all this stuff ready. I'm excited for Clash of the Caribbean, but like I said, it's my first event, so I'm like stressing to make sure I have everything, you know? Nice. I hope your Age of Sigmar game goes well. Are you doing actual Age of Sigmar, or are you doing like the Warcry, like the small little pre-made box armies? Shit, that's right, not Warcry, my bad. Spearhead, yeah. Oh, I hear great things about Spearhead, man. You have to tell me how it goes. I hear really good things about it. It's true. Oh, don't, not Tiki Kennedy. Please don't. Okay, if you guys don't know, maybe you don't. There's of all the, like, rivalries out there, there's a lot of military rivalries, you know, like, you know, between branches, between units and stuff like that. Military police sometimes don't get along with like Cat Scouts, but for me anyways, and there's nothing wrong with against it, but I had to work adjacent to special operations for so long, and there's great guys, and I say guys because in my time there were no women, right? Not trying to start anything, just saying the time I was in there were no women. So I worked adjacent to them, and nothing but great guys. A lot of them quiet professionals, like the chillest dudes you'll ever meet, like super friendly in the gym, super nice guys, right? Very chill, just real chill, nice guys. That's like 80% of them, right? Or like 90% of them. But what kills me is then you get out and you get all the books and all the movies and all like the story deals, and it was just too much. Like, I love military stuff, but it was just too many stories about special operations. And too many of their books just read like shopping catalogs. You know, it's like, oh, and then I pulled out my, you know, 6 Hour Legion with, you know, 12+1 out of my Mad Dog tactical fanny pack pouch with, you know, this, and that. And, oh, it's a good thing I had my Gerber so-and-so. It just read like a old Soldier of Fortune magazine, you know, where it's just like selling shit, so. It's like one of my, not my pet peeve, but if you notice a lot of these, like Tim Kennedy and some of these other people, a lot of their stories are starting to get called out now and get holes poked in it, because no one really did it while they're telling these stories, because most real Special Forces guys, or most of us normal conventional guys, we're all busy. We're all busy working and deployed. But now that GWOT's over, we're all back. You know, a lot of people are retired or working civilian jobs. So now we're going back and listening to these like podcasts and books. Like, what's he saying? Like, he threw 20 grades? Like, this motherfucker's lying. Like, that shit didn't happen. So you're starting to see a lot of these Special Forces stories kind of fall apart at the seams. Nothing against soft dudes, you know. Time and place that are great for counterinsurgency. They have their place, but it's almost like nobody was conventional forces, you know. Yeah, I appreciate it, Matt Larkin. Yeah, I'm having everything ready. Like I said, I also got prize support. But the hard part is once we're on the ship, you know, Matt Larkin, it's not like I can run back and grab something that I left back ashore, you know, so I'm trying to make sure I have everything ready. I just want it to be a good experience, you know, because I know it's going to be some people's first time playing bolt action. So it's super important. I hope it goes well and keeps it fun. Like, okay, I'll let you guys in on this. All right, so I was. It's a very personal story, but my brother, you know, recommended a show. You know, if you ever seen The Lioness, so season 1 of The Lioness, not bad, right? Season 2 of The Lioness starts off really well. Season 2 of The Lioness sets up like a, you know, cartel, narco-terrorism thing, which is something we've been talking about for years, right? They're just now starting to make shows about, which is fine, whatever. And it's set up in a very smart way where you think it's going to be like the main chick is in on it and the cartel's in on it and they're going to flip on the special forces guys in the end. It's gonna be, but it's almost like they swapped writers like 4 episodes in, and it just turns into like what a 12-year-old COD player would write for a tactical show. I don't want to spoil it. You know, fuck it, I'll spoil it. I don't give a shit. If you plan on watching season 2 of The Lioness, I'll give you, look at the time hack. I'll give you 3 minutes to mute or whatever, and I'll rant about it for like 10 minutes. So I hate spoilers. So if you're planning on watching The Lioness season 2, you haven't seen it yet, I'm about to go over the final battle. Get some more paint on there. Honestly, Shit Sean, that would be a better story than what happens. Alright, I got 1 minute. No, I wish they would steal my stories. I feel like if you take some of my stories and some of my buddies' stories and you put them together, you could really do a I hope they serve beer in hell, but like military version, and it would be hysterical. I would just request like another, I think, 5 to 10 years for statute of limitations to take effect, and then I'll be good. I don't think I hurt anybody in any of my shenanigans, but there's seriously some sketchiness. Not like dangerous stuff, but just like, Alright, let me get comfortable and rant about the Lioness. Okay. So, the first season's pretty good. So what the Lioness is it's a CIA ground branch. So if you're not familiar with ground branch is, ground loosely, right? This is all unclassed, all subject to change, blah 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 blah. So ground branch is the quote unquote ground tactical force of the CIA. A lot of times it's beat up old soft dudes and chicks, right? All right. So ground branch works with this one part of CIA where this is a very good idea, and it was a real program. So what the real Lioness program was, it was actually ran with MPs, medical officers, like female nurses and stuff like that, and they were all females. So the way it worked is in these traditional Middle Eastern countries, such as Iraq and Afghanistan, they would have, a lot of times the female civilian population, due to cultural reasons, would not talk with military males from NATO. Understandable, of course. So they took NATO military females and trained them in field interrogation techniques and interview tactics. That's why I said a lot of them were actual MPs, because they had a lot of this training already. And they started using them to talk to the female civilian population of villages. So it's very effective, right? So it was a real program, it was a good program. It had nothing to do with the fucking CIA, right? Anyways, so in this show, the CIA came up with it. And what they do is they take these females and they put them into either terror cells or other organizations to try and disrupt them from within, because no one would ever suspect the female, right? It's got a point, fair enough. The first season is honestly not that bad. First season you can watch, like, oh, okay, cool, no big deal. The second season started strong. The second season starts just like the Sicario movie, right? So like the first 2 or 3 episodes is like the first Sicario movie. It's cool. You're like, oh yeah, this is pretty cool. All right, cool. Yes. And then it turns into Sicario 2, where you're just like, oh, it's the same thing, except now nothing makes sense, and it's kind of outstaying its welcome. You know? It's like taking home the really, really attractive date from the bar, and then they're still in your house like the next day. You're like, alright, I gotta go to work. I'm like, oh, it's cool, I'll just be here. You're like, I kind of understand you're welcome. Kind of felt like that, so. The first thing that bugged me with Lioness, I'm waiting for this to dry, sorry. So the first thing that bugged me with Lioness Season 2, they were making they were gonna make a strike on a cartel storage building, right? Now the trick was, when they hit this building, they weren't sure what was gonna be in there, probably drugs, weapons. Turns out it was humans, it was human trafficking, right? So sorry, that made me laugh, Larkin. So they're gonna go make a strike, but here's the plan, right? And this is modern day writing, and the guy who writes the show, he writes everything. It's the same guy who writes Yellowstone, which I didn't really enjoy. Same guy who writes Tulsa King, which I thought was pretty good. He writes other shows, right? But I think he leaves halfway through, like he starts it strong and then makes someone else take over the writing. So they're gonna do a strike on a cartel-owned storage building that they have hidden in Mexico. So it's a cross-border raid, right? So they even point out, like, hey, if we're gonna do this, we need to make sure, and this is the CIA, right? Like, we need to make sure we don't have any fingerprint, like we don't leave behind any distinguishing features or anything like that, right? Let's make sure we don't leave behind evidence. They need to think this was a rival cartel, a false flag operation. Okay, cool, super easy, right? It's like basic spy shit. This is when I'm gonna bring in an old show, right? Anyone who's ever seen the show NCIS, that's the sequel to JAG, right? JAG came before NCIS, it's actually in the same universe. So in a random episode in JAG, a military law show, right? There's a Marine Corps unit operating in South America, and they're doing something similar where they're kind of fighting the cartels. And what's funny is they go to the armory, and there's a whole bunch of AK-47s and a whole bunch of boxes of, I think it was like Nigerian ammo. I'm like, why are you guys using this? Like, why don't you, like, oh, we're doing this, that way, you know, our gunfire and the brass leave behind looks like AKs, and so it's more believable that we're the cartel. That makes sense, that's good writing, right? No, not in this fucking Lioness show, right? Because they have to show all the Gucci gear to get people to buy it, right? So they go on this cross-border raid into Mexico against the cartel, trying to camouflage themselves as a cartel. Are you ready for this? They're all running M4 platforms. Actually, they're running like spears and shit like that, right? So modern day spears or some M4s, they have cans, suppressors on them, all sorts of sights. Now that's okay if you have a brass catching bag. Now if you have a brass catching bag, that could fuck up your reliability, but you won't leave brass behind, which would be evidence, right? They don't have that. They're shooting, leaving their brass behind, all sorts of shit, not policing up the brass. And then on top of that, are you ready for this? Because the agent they're putting in, she's a pilot. So like, well, let's use her. So then they're inserted and they use a little bird for air support. A little bird using folding fin aerial rockets and a 7.62 minigun. Not a lot of cartels are flying around in little birds with miniguns. So it's absolutely does not look like any other cartel. And sure as shit, the police respond like the corrupt police with their cartel. And she does a gun run on the whole convoy and lights them up with rockets and minigun fire. You know what that looks like when you go to investigate the next day? It looks like a convoy of cars hit with rockets and minigun fire. And same thing, she's flying around in the little bird, holding down the, raking fire with a minigun, leaving that brass everywhere. Like absolutely everywhere. So they get there and they're shooting left and right and stuff like that, leaving all their brass around. They get in there and it turns out to be humans and they don't want to leave a girl behind because it's a girl and it's a whole program and almost compromises the whole mission. It's a whole pain in the ass. But that was the moment the show pissed me off. I was like, for CIA, that makes no sense. Why would you not bring Soviet bloc small arms, right? So it leaves behind regular brass that all the cartels use. If you want to use a suppressed weapon, you can just run 45 ACP pistols, which everyone does anyways. It's easy to suppress. And then you wouldn't have air support. No cartel has air support. If you want to make it look like a cartel, have a diversionary tactic and hit it with a V-bed. Hit it with a vehicle-borne IED and then breach the other side. That looks like a cartel. None of this shit. Bad Rabbit, not so much, no. So if it fills up too much, it can actually jam up the feed system, particularly when you use brass catchers on helicopters and stuff like that. So not just brass catchers on the actual rifles, but brass catchers with certain helos. Some helos it works better, some it doesn't, but when you're running it with certain types of rifles, because of the ejection style, if you run a brass catcher with a can, because you gotta think, not to get too nerdy with it, but when you're running like an M4 style system, the way the gas system works, it's a lot dirtier than a direct impingement system like from an AK. So you're getting a lot more dirt back when you run like a Stoner or M4 or AR-15 style system. So you put a can on top of that, you're getting even more of a dirtier weapon system with each shot. So with each shot, your weapon's getting dirtier and dirtier and dirtier, with your brass and all the stuff from that brass kind of going in the brass catcher, kind of piling up. You're gonna run into reliability issues. Anyway, so yeah, the whole brass catcher was just like, why would you ever do that? It's already a bad idea. But if you're gonna run, because again, they're running spears too, so those are like 6.5, like a very unique style ammo. It's weird shit. So then the final battle is where you kind of like lose it all, right? So in the final battle, they're gonna strike this one compound, right? Or they're trying to grab this HVT, this high value target. So the main character and her females, and then the CIA ground branch, right? So they're supposed to be badasses of the badasses. So they're gearing up to do an ambush on this convoy. No big deal. All of us who did GWAT understand convoys and ambushing convoys. We've been on both sides of it, right? So they're gonna load up in a couple of, because they only have what's available at this one fire base, which is fine, no big deal. And so they have a couple Humvees. Okay, cool. You only have what you have. That's fine. But they have all their Gucci rifles and stuff like that, and they're all bitching about who's gonna carry the AT-4. In case you didn't know, an AT-4 is a single-shot, 84mm high explosive anti-tank round. It's an anti-tank weapon. It's disposable, one shot. They're not that heavy. They're heavy, but they're not that heavy, right? So they're all bitching about who's going to carry it. And then the whole time, it goes in the Humvee. Like, they have it in the Humvee. One of the Humvees, right? But they go with, like, I think it's like 2 or 3 Humvees, like 6 to 8 people. And they brought one AT-4 to ambush a convoy of vehicles. Let that sink in, right? Think about that. One AT-4 for a convoy of vehicles. Knowing full well that the base had tanks and armored vehicles. So they have an advanced recon team, which has the show creator in it. Weird. So they're out there watching the whole convoy with a sniper rifle. They see they're right by the base. They see the convoy mount up. They see the convoy leave, right? So then that 2-person recon team falls back onto their Razor off-road vehicle, which has a Carl Gustav recoilless rifle in the back, swinging. And they beat feet back to the ambush spot to help those guys ambush the convoy. Kind of weird. So then the main team's trying to attack this convoy. They only have one AT-4. Then the enemies start showing up with tanks and armored vehicles. The recon team, who's just a 2-person recon team, somehow have better anti-tank heavier weapons than the actual assault team that has, like, it's weird, right? The 2-person team that's supposed to be moving light has more anti-tank stuff than the actual strike team running the ambush. And then the whole thing, they get saved at the end of the day because some helicopters come and save them. The problem with that is ever since Gothic Serpent, you know, like Black Hawk Down, everyone knows, like, oh yeah, the Americans are probably going to bring helicopters and planes. That's kind of what they do, you know? So this whole convoy that attacks, not a single vehicle, like, pulls off to provide anti-air support, right? So when the helicopter shows up, it surprises everybody, like, no one fucking saw it coming. It was the most contrived, like, bullshit written by children battle I've ever seen. Everyone's like, oh, well, did it look awesome? Did it look amazing? I was like, no. It made no sense. It was nonsensical from the beginning. It was like... Sorry, I don't mean to rant. I used to teach convoys and ambush a bunch of small unit tactics. So I was talking to my brother. I went off for like 2 hours. Like, no, this makes no sense. It's dumb. And I just went off and off and off about it. But yeah, Bad Rabbit, you also nailed it. Yeah, the weight starts adding to it and starts pulling in, and then you're not able to, like, clear your malfunctions. You know, if you get like a double feed or a stovepipe and you have a brass catcher, it's just a fucking nightmare. But anyways, the whole thing could be avoided by just using, you know, Soviet blocks of arms or captured rival cartel weaponry. I understand. Some people will say, like, oh, well, that's for classified reasons. They're just trying to, like, no, they're not dumb. You know, I was like, it's just logic, you know? It was just very poorly written, I thought. The beginning was set up really cool, like it was going to be like a double cross, and like the cartel was going to like cross over. It was really cool. But then it just went on like autopilot, written by committee. It got really bad. Yeah, that final battle made no sense. Like the strike team who moved in multiple armored vehicles brought one AT-4. Meanwhile, the reconnaissance team that had a basically like a dune buggy had the recoilless rifle. Like, what the fuck? And same thing, if you know the route and you already had a recon unit watching to see when the guy leaves, and you were able to rush from that overwatch point all the way back to the side of the ambush without getting spotted, why wouldn't you just drop mines? Like, we fought a war for like 20 years of IEDs and ambushes. Like, we know how to do IEDs and how to ambush a convoy. Like, why would you not use mines? If you have a small group of personnel, right, to attack a whole ass convoy full of armored vehicles, why would you not do mines? Like, it makes no sense. Like explosively formed penetrators, all that kind of stuff. Knock out the armored stuff first. You know, front vehicle, rear vehicle, seal the kill box, just go. Like, this textbook shit that was used against us for 20 years. Like, what the hell? Like, no, we're gonna use helicopters. They'll never see that coming. Like, oh no, you surprised us. You use helicopters like you've used in the last 20 years. Yeah, I noticed that Mexico, both cartel and military, they really enjoy their anti-materiel rifles. anti-helicopter and some other stuff, and they use a lot of, and you're starting to notice this. So I was talking to somebody about this, about modern warfare and the use of drones. So the use of drones is really going to start neglecting, or really start harming, air mobility operations, using helicopters for logistics and stuff like that. They're going to be very vulnerable to one-way drone devices, one-way air drones. So something that a lot of people, because warfare is cyclical, the way you get around that, now that a drone can like do a top-down strike on a tank and take out a tank, or a drone could fly in and take out a helicopter, like, what's the logical way around that? You're starting to see a lot more militaries, and I posted a video for Squidfist. You're seeing a lot more militaries lean back into full motorized and fast attack vehicle. So you're starting to see a lot more like light cavalry, like light dragoon style. So a lot more less armored vehicles, because what's the point of armor? You're just gonna get hit by a drone. So you're starting to see a lot more like light armored, high fast attack mobility motorized teams, which is pretty cool. Yeah, RK, if you ever watch that show, it'll make your head spin. Like, the potential they had for that season was great, and then they just squandered it. Yeah, it's starting to be what it's now, because any anti-tank team or actual like tank could be suppressed or pinned down with drones, and you can just do fast attack, you know, even just off-the-shelf vehicles, weaponized, and just swing around the sides really quick. You're starting to see a lot more rise in yeah, well, Squidfist, if you look at that YouTube channel, he also talks about the Colombian Highway Patrol. They use like 18-wheelers, like Mad Max style. He talks about the Mexican military, how they use a lot more armored cavalry and shit like that. So the French have always used it, particularly the French Foreign Legion, especially like in Mali versus Al-Qaeda in the lands of Islamic Maghreb, that terror group. The French Foreign Legion used high motorized vehicles very effectively, because it's all they had. Yeah, I miss force organization charts in Warhammer 40k. Like I said, when I saw that, yeah, that's what I always get my idea from, and I always miss that shit. Because that's kind of like that's what I like, and that's kind of what I want for like bolt action events, kind of is. But imagine it more like Cold War based. So you can pick a type of organization. Like I said, you can pick a light infantry, or a armored, or a mechanized infantry, or a motorized infantry, or, you know, special forces or something like that, and that dictates what kind of platoons you can take. Like, you have to fill out these platoons, and you're only limited to these units, but you get these special units, if that makes sense. I would like to see more of that, like that kind of force organization charts. Like, oh, you want to take, you know, mechanized infantry, then okay, you get access to, you know, APCs or IFVs, you know, and small infantry squads, and you get a little bit more anti-tank per infantry squad or platoon. But you don't get to take helicopters, or you don't get to take air support, or you don't get to take snipers or stuff like that. It's like a reward and risk system, you know. Yeah, that is a good movie, RK. All right, those. I still got a little bit more to do on that. I got some more of the wall to hit. Yeah, kind of like a theater selector. Yeah, that's exactly kind of how it is. Like I said, it works better with Cold War. Like, let's say you want to take imagine this is like Cold War but bolt action. So let's say you want to take a Spetsnaz unit. So you want to take Spetsnaz. So you get access to, special forces infantry and like veteran infantry, helicopters and stuff like that. But you don't get, tanks or BMPs or anything like that, or you don't get like indirect fire. Versus, let's say you take a American Green Beret unit, you're gonna get like a few specialized special forces, but you can also take local partisans. The guys that Green Berets trained. You can get air support, but you won't get any kind of tanks or anything like that. Like, that would be really cool to see. They already kind of do that with nations, like, certain nations get access to certain stuff. But like a good example to make it more bolt action for the Imperial Japanese, I like to see it where like, hey, you want to take IJA or IJN? If you want to take IJA, you get access to these things. So that's cool. Do I get like float tanks and stuff like that? No, fuck off. Hey, you want to play IJN? Yeah, cool. You get access to all this stuff. Do I get, Hagos and Type 97 Chihas? Like, no, you get either Type 89 Egos or you get like Kamis, That would be really cool. Or like the Americans, like Marines get access to certain kind of stuff that the Army doesn't, or Army gets access to stuff that Marines don't. But you're right, it works just like theater selectors. Like, you can just take Americans and you get access to everything if you want, or you can specialize. It's kind of like the war game video games, like Red Dragon Rising or shit like that. Like, oh, if you want to specialize into Marines, you get access to unique Marine units, but you can't take Army units. Well, let's say you want to take like a recon company, right? Like, hey, I want to do, a recon company of airborne. Like, okay, cool. You get to take, 2 recon platoons. They're like, okay, cool, and that's your force organization chart. I think that'd be kind of cool. Obviously, I'm just kind of spitballing the idea. I'll have to like kind of workshop it and refine it. Same thing, if you want to take like an armored infantry kind of thing, then your rules kind of change, or you take armored platoons, like other people take rifle platoons, but you get less order dice. It's kind of like a risk reward system for each thing you pick. There's benefits and costs. But we already kind of do that. Me, Irish, Arkansas, like that. Like we did one game with it was me and Irish versus Trooper, and what we did is we put in self-imposed limitations. So the way we kind of do that is we were doing a attack on Malta, except the Imperial Japanese Navy snuck in some people in like a civilian freighter. So we were limited to what you could like reasonably sneak, or what you could reasonably put in like a tramp steamer freighter. So that's why all I had was, troops and an AA truck, and one gun truck. Nobody had any, like, heavy vehicles. Yeah, Bad Rabbit, Zern and I, we email each other quite a bit back and forth. Not to, like, name drop or anything, but, I'm convincing him to try the Bad Habit mission, which I'm pretty excited about. So top secret, but with like 3 variables. So that should be pretty cool. And I'll actually be using Ed Scar's idea for armored like tank war kind of for 3rd edition. So the way it works is the armored platoon replaces the rifle platoon, and like a common game of bolt action, you're limited to like 12 dice. So that way, you know, you do take tanks, but you're limited in the amount of stuff you can take. So hopefully when we do like our big 1250 point games, 1250 point Conflict 47 game for Once Upon a December, that's kind of what it'll be like. Bad Rabbit, I'll shoot you a DM for his website, and his website has a contact information thing. So if you go to his channel, he'll have a link to his website, and on his website he has a thing to contact him. But I'll send that to you. No, he's a super cool dude. Definitely on my list of people I'd love to play Bolt Action with. I'd probably lose, but I'd have a lot of fun. Alright, I'm going to take a quick little break here and just grab a fresh drink, and then we'll get started on this guy. Be right back. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. Definitely need a drink. It has been a long day. So a good way to run the Japanese. So I will be honest, in their current edition, the Japanese got nerfed pretty bad. Second edition, they had some pretty cool rules. Some people were using and abusing certain units, kind of making them like cheese spam. And so when they rolled out third edition, they nerfed a lot of people, and they nerfed Japan really hard, Imperial Japan. And then everybody else has gotten their armies of books rolling out, making them slightly better or stronger, getting them certain stuff. Imperial Japan's like one of the last ones. So so with that being said, there's still a lot of cool ways to play Empire Japan. So some of the other guys are probably tired of the way I say it, but or I'm trying to be saying it, but I run my Imperial Japanese like I run the GLA from Command and Conquer's General. So I run a high mobility force. I run usually my infantry squads as veterans. I'll run 15 full size 15 veterans. Now because of RK, I've learned to pay the extra points and throw in as many SMGs as I can, which is usually just one on the sergeant. I throw one SMG on the sergeant, it helps. So 15-man squads with the sergeant having an SMG. And then light mortar teams are nice because they're now 3-person teams. And you run those as veterans. The cool thing about that is it's a 3-person light mortar team that are veterans. So with a light mortar, you can move and shoot. So you're still only hitting on 6s instead of dialing in. So the way I do is I kind of move them and shoot them until they're actually until they hit, and then I stay there and I shoot at whatever it is until they move again. Or if I need to dial them in on a high value target like an artillery piece or a building, I'll do that. But there's still 3 veterans. They're still they can be dangerous in close combat. The rules for bolt action 3rd edition melee combat are kind of whack. I heard they're fixing it in the new Konflikt 47. Well, I'm hoping so, because those rules are bad. But again, my style is, and I'm just telling you my style to try and help you with his style. I like to run I don't do any kind of heavy weapons, so any artillery piece or like mini machine gun team, I pay to put my mini machine guns on light civilian trucks, and I run them that style. Same thing, instead of an AA gun, I put my AA guns on trucks and run those as like a high speed attack truck. I run like light tanks, medium tanks like Chihas and Type 92 tankettes and things like that. So I run a very high mobility light strike team for my forces. All veterans, very high mobility. That's kind of my play style. I'm not the best player, you know. It works for me. The other thing I do recommend is something called the trouble bubble, or that's what I call it. You take your suicide anti-tank teams. I run mine as lunge mines, model-wise. It's easier to say on some YouTube without getting demonetized, but you take your suicide AT teams, it's 1 person. And they have the infiltrator rule. So I run mine as veterans. It's like 25 points or 27 points a pop. So you can take 3 of them in each AT spot. So when you put 3 of them out there, it creates basically like a line of where vehicles have to decide, do they want to move up, do they want to shoot, do they want to expose themselves? And a lot of times these suicide tank teams can be very lethal to tanks, thus the name. And so they cause a lot of times the other player to focus a lot of fire on these suicide tank teams. So even if you don't destroy a vehicle, just by soaking up a lot of the enemy's fire and a lot of their order dice, it leaves your other units kind of free to maneuver and do what they need to do. So it works pretty well as well. But long story short, to kind of answer your question, the things I would focus on, you know, I'd start with a 30-person box. I would build like 2. I'd build. Well, I'll go and tell you. It's in the video, but I'll tell you now. So I would build. Hold on. But is that not what I said? You can take 3 lunge mines in 1 AT section. I thought that's what I said. Anyways, but oh yeah, if you're talking about for the Bad Rabbit, I think you're talking about something I'm not talking about. Where for the what is that? I think like the heavy weapons team where they can take multiple things. Yeah, you can only take like 3 per platoon usually, but there's rules about that. But when you get to the app will point you in the right way, so you don't really have to worry about that. But so to let you know with that box, what we did is we built 2 10-man squads. The 10-man squads are veterans. The sergeant has an SMG, and one guy has a light machine gun with a loader. It's not sexy, but it's a multi-tool. It can kind of handle anything. It's very flexible, right? Then you have your leadership team, which I think was just 2 guys with SMGs as veterans. Then we took a, I think like a light mortar team as veterans. We took a couple anti-tank guys, 2 anti-tank guys as veterans. So that built you as like a whole little force there that you can kind of handle. It's not super good at anything, but it can kind of handle anything, and it builds you like a very solid 500-point base. Yeah, you could take 1 total. That was a cheese where there was a platoon selector. I think it was heavy weapons where you get like 3 AT slots. You can take like 3 AT tank rifles, but a lot of people were filling it with like 9 lunge mines or something fucking insane like that. Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking about going to Texas the next year. So I'll let you know if I go over there. I'll let you know if I'm headed to Texas. Because I want to say there's a museum out in College Station. And I think they just traded a Chiha, a non-functional Chiha over to Japan, and Japan gave them a functional Hago, so I kind of want to go over there and see it. But I do recommend running the Imperial Japanese as veterans, Jenny, because they have the Fanatic rule. So Fanatic veterans can usually be pretty hard to kill. So you're going to get a lot of survivability on the tabletop. They're going to soak up a lot of fire. Pins can still be a problem because, they don't really have the bonsai rule anymore, but learn from my error and put some SMGs in those squads. RK taught me the hard way. Overall, I think I'll like him. Put another coat now that's dried on the wall, and we'll get started on our Captain Samuels. Not bad. Getting some painting done. Getting another piece of terrain ready for the event. Yeah, so that's something I always recommend starting at 500, building your force at 500, and then flexing out to 750, and then 1,000 points, and then 1,250, and then 1,500. But the other thing is, you may have to find this model on eBay or Etsy. Warlord Games does not make a model of this vehicle, but it is in the rules. It is a Type 92, Type 92 tankette. So the Type 92 tankette, we've talked about it like historically on the stream. It's a badass little thing. It's technically like a cavalry tankette. What makes it so useful on the tabletop is it has 7-up armor. It has the reconnaissance or recce rule, and it has a hole-mounted heavy machine gun and a turret 360-degree mounted medium machine gun. So vehicle-mounted heavy machine guns are really good in bolt action 3rd edition, in my opinion. So vehicle-borne machine guns took kind of a hit. They fire a lot less rounds now in bolt action, unless you're doing flak, of course. That's a whole. Again, I'm trying not to get too complicated. But vehicle-mounted machine guns shoot a little bit less now. But heavy machine guns shoot an extra round more than they used to in 2nd edition. So they kind of came out of this whole 2nd to 3rd edition nerfing kind of even a little bit better. And the Imperial Japanese don't get access to heavy machine guns very often. At this time, Sergeant Way, there is no heavy machine gun team. It can be heavy machine guns can be kind of rare to come across. So running Type 92 tankettes that are not that expensive points wise, like talking like maybe 100 points, maybe a little bit more than that, and they get a bow-mounted heavy machine gun and a reconnaissance roll, they're super useful and super worth the points. So yeah, I'd recommend starting with a box of 30 troops, and then maybe getting a Type 92 tankette, and then maybe a tank, and kind of build out that way. So slowly build. But that's the one model I do. The models I stand behind is the Humble Infantry Squad, Veteran Infantry Squad, usually 15 person, if you can. The Type 92 tankette, and the Lunge Mine. Now, with that being said, I also do enjoy my Type 98 AA trucks. Those are just little flatbed trucks with a 20mm AA gun on them. They're super cheap. They're like 50 points a pop. And they can be pretty damn lethal. They can move and shoot. They're fun, but they're not everyone's cup of tea. They work in certain like list build, kind of like my, high mobility style. But the Type 92 tankette works everywhere, and it's amazing. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, so if he's doing Konflikt 47, yeah, that's totally different. So if he's doing Konflikt 47, yeah, the Scorpion far surpasses the Type 92 tankette. It's more expensive points-wise, but with that light compression cannon, it's amazing. We'll see how vehicle pinning works in the new version of Konflikt 47. Back in original Konflikt 47, your pins affected your accuracy. So Scorpions were awesome for running around and just literally fucking with heavier vehicles and just putting pins on them and trying to survive. The problem is smart people would wait for you to shoot with your Scorpion where you can't recce, and they'd run in and shoot at your Scorpion. That happened to me a lot. Scorpions don't hold up to fire very well. They're like the definition of a glass cannon. Yeah, I understand. Like, it's some people's cup of tea. It's not other people. I can say, I don't know. Like I said, some people end up liking bolt action. And Konflikt 47 is a lot more of a casual version than bolt action. So if someone really likes like Warhammer 40k tournament play, they may or may not like Konflikt 47. Like, they may like the aesthetics or units, but Again, I don't know. I don't have access to the new books, and I don't set the style. But the way I've always seen it, it's a much more casual version of bolt action. So sometimes it doesn't work well with people who are used to more high-paced, predictable meta style play. You know. Yeah, I think bolt action is one of those things. You either really enjoy the way bolt action plays, and that's Konflikt 47, or you don't. There's nothing wrong with that either way, but I think it evokes a very strong reaction. Polarizing reaction, I think is the term I was looking for. Alright, let me just finish up this extra shade of Earth Shade, Earth Shade, and then we'll move on. And we'll have one of these done. I have another one of these to paint, and a whole bunch of boats. Most of my boats are painted, but I'm going to try and build my Japanese landing craft and get that painted. And then that should be all the terrain for the beach landing. Surprisingly pretty, I like heavy terrain boards, so. Yes, so 500 points is very difficult to do that with. That's why I said 500 points are good for like commando style raids or like very small skirmishes. 750 is good. 750 you can generally get some Rift Tech units in there, you know? But if you really want to go all out with Rift Tech and you want to have like a badass game, 1250 is where it's at. That's usually what I play Konflikt 47 at, because usually I play people who play bolt action, so they'll have their 1,000-point bolt action army, and then I would generally let them borrow like a Grizzly for 250 points, and then boom, they're at 1250, right? They have their whole ass bolt action army plus a Grizzly, easy peasy. But yeah, if you're having trouble with 500, some people don't like. I love 500-point games, some people don't. Totally understandable, especially if you're trying to play with some fun Rift Tech units. I would try aiming for 750. 750 should feel really good if you want to put in multiple Rift Tech units, or like a high points unit, you know. Like for my Cult of Imhotep, when I took him as a 500-point list, like you can see the video that's a battle report. They had a Panther X. They had like 6 Totem Core. They had 1 rifle squad, and then a platoon officer with an adjutant, and that was it. So they're super weak on the infantry level, but they were able to get in a big ass fucking Panther X. I've never played a 2,000-point game. I think the biggest I've played, obviously 1250s were good. I played 1500, but we played that as a 4-player, where each player brought 750. I haven't played anything. I haven't played anything bigger than 1250, like on one side. $750 is not bad. You just have to kind of specialize in what you want to bring. But from what I hear, the Scuttlebutt is similar to this edition, or similar to this edition stateside. Konflikt 47 second edition is going to be looking more towards like 1250, you know, so we'll see. I don't think I've ever caught Luton in stream. I didn't know he actually streamed. I thought he just did lore videos. That'd be kind of interesting. I'll have to check out one of his streams one day, Bad Rabbit. That's super interesting. Where is my... Nope. Looking for my snake bite leather. Snake bite leather. Where'd you go? Ah. Found you. So, how are those big 2,000-point games for Konflikt 47? Do they run pretty well? Do you run into any issues? Any like common issues at that size? I mean, even on a 6x4 table with like decent terrain, it's got to start getting kind of crowded, you know, unless you play on a bigger table. Yeah, explain that to me, Bad Rabbit. I don't think I understand. So, they have a points limit, but they can go 25% over it, I guess? I don't think I'm understanding. I don't think my brain is braining very well. I know it's hard to explain things over chat, Bad Rabbit. I won't hold it against you, but if you can explain that to me, I'd appreciate it. Nice, Jenny. Cosmic's a great dude. That's a good person to go split with. Oh, nice. That's awesome. You actually know him. That's cool. Oh, okay. Yeah, better. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, if that's what everyone agrees on, it's fine. To each their own, I guess. I get what you're saying mathematically. I just don't understand. But again, I missed that stream, so that makes sense. I'll have to try and find which one it is and go back and watch it. But the logic of it doesn't make sense to me. I would just say make it a 1,250 point game, I guess. I don't know. But like I said, maybe they got tired of getting like comp stomped by like Knights and Chaos Knights. Look at that Crusade game I almost did. I get that, but no worries. Oh, good. That's a cool thing about like community and local rules. Like if it makes everyone happy, that's awesome. I'm always glad to hear of like new ways to play. I think it's pretty cool. It doesn't matter if it makes sense to my grognardian smooth brain, to borrow MG's term there. Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, you're just providing an alternate way. Yeah, that makes sense. And especially if they're doing it like in a crusade or a narrative way, like, yeah, bring 1,000 points of infantry or like a battle line of 1,000 points, and then you can bring like 250 points of extra, like, hot, spicy, cool stuff, you know? No, I get that. Like, I'm trying to set up a learning game of Warhammer 40k, and what a guy's telling me, so he said he'll play 500 points. But his recommendation is to take it where you have to have at least 2 battle line units. A warlord, obviously. But no unit can have a strength greater than 9. So, I have my 500 point list built. I had to just finish painting it. And that'll give me a try. That'll give me a chance to try a 10th edition. That way I can't just sit here and shit on it without playing it, because that's not fair. So, my 500 point list is actually hilarious. Super easy. It's I'm gonna run it as orcs. I think Green Tide. Even though I like Moto surfers, Speed Freaks, this one makes more sense. I'm gonna run it as Green Tide, but it's just 3 trucks, 3 10-man squads of boys with rocket launcher, and one mech boy. So that's it. Everybody fits in their truck. I get 3 trucks, 30 boys, and one mech boy. Perfect. Super simple. Maybe not effective, but it should be fun to play. With the squads, with each one of the boy squads having a rocket launcher, hopefully that's enough to take on whatever armor they bring that's smaller than strength 9. Oh, you know what? I think Fat Rabbit, good catch. I think I misunderstood. It's been a long time since I played 40k. I think he means toughness 9. Yeah, yeah. Good call. Good call. Good call. I think he meant toughness 9. Excellent point. I'm very rusty on my 40k lingo. It's been since like 8th, or I left in 8th. Excellent catch, Bad Rabbit. I appreciate it. I appreciate you listening, man. I appreciate you catching that. Yeah, because my trucks are toughness 8, so it's like perfect. So right now we're doing all the leather straps and accoutrements and pouches and holsters and shit like that. No. I'm not saying you're making a point. I'm saying no. I appreciate you catching that. Yeah, cause I meant toughness for like armor values, whatever to say for like bolt action. You know, because we do the same thing in Clash of the Caribbean. You know, where we have no armor value greater than 7 for the vehicles. You know, they keep them all like light tanks and tankettes and shit. So what I liked is, it's the part of Warhammer 40k I really like, is he's like, hey, I recommend no named characters. I was like, oh, I like that. That's cool, you know? That way you can't like sneak in like, oh, hey, look, my Primarch's here for a 500 point battle. Like, ah, fuck me, right? CB Cooper, so this is the actual model from Warlord Games. It's a it can be taken as like your company commander. So it's a higher level officer. It's called Samuel. His call sign's like Slammers. He was like the original Paragon soldier. So yeah, in the lore of Konflikt 47, he is the Captain America. Like, he is the pinnacle of the Paragon system. After him, all the other Paragon people are a little bit lesser. You know, and they generally lead up like Paragon support squads. So he is like the top dude. He has a Tesla gauntlet and a Tesla rifle, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I also have this little Captain America guy from Anvil Miniatures that I really enjoy. I highly recommend if you do watch MG stream and you have access to his little discount from Anvil Miniatures, you can pick yourself up a little Captain America, because it comes with both shields, so you can either have a round shield or like the heater, like kite shield that I have. Sorry about that. All right. But yeah, this model was nice enough to be given to me by Shitharder Sean. You generally got it when you bought the first Konflikt 47 book. Yeah, so that's the other thing that I'm worried about for Konflikt 47 2nd edition. I don't like hero-based games. Some people do. Totally understandable. I'm not saying it's a bad system. It's just a personal preference. I like no-named characters because I like kind of building the lore for myself, you know? I don't like a lot of named characters, and I worry that's what the new Konflikt 47 is going to be, because they talked about that, like, heroes and monsters and stuff like that, or heroes and horrors, or whatever they called it. So I'm a little worried about that, but again, as long as everybody else likes it, that's fine. I can always just rename my hero. It's not a huge deal, you know? I just enjoy more, like, nameless style characters. Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm talking about in Crusades. Yeah, how you have like your own hero that you kind of build up. You know, you name them yourselves, and you get like the scars. Like, I love the idea of Crusades. I've just never found a good Crusade. If I could find a good group to do Crusades, I would do it in a heartbeat. It's just every group I see, and I check in like a little bit later, and it just turns into a seal clubbing event. People just waiting for the next tournament, and they're just testing out their tournament list, or now, that being said, I'd happily help. I mean, I don't want to take on another project. I'm pretty terrible at that. But I would love to help or even do whatever I can to try and support a narrative version of Konflikt 47. If you could get like a Crusade version of Konflikt 47, call it like campaign. Oh, that's what they should do it. Call it campaign with a K. Holy shit! There you go. There's a name right there. Call it the campaign edition or campaign rules spelled with a K. And it could be like Crusade for Warhammer 40k, but for Konflikt 47. That would be amazing. I'll put this in the Discord, and we can talk more about it there, so we can get more people on board. But yeah, I would love a campaign version of Konflikt 47 2nd edition. That would be really cool. Like, you start off with like a small unit of just like bolt action models, and as you go on, you kind of add more and more Rift Tech stuff, you know? That's really cool. Alright, there's all his leg pouches. Yeah, and like I said, it's one of those things that, you know, I always talk about it. I don't think my game style is the correct way to play. I'd never be that audacious and think that. I just come from a very heavy D&D background, so I like more narrative style. But I think, yeah, people who are very competitive, I don't want to call them power gamers or wacka, but like competitive people may not really understand the spirit of narrative play. And by the same token, as a narrative player, I don't really appreciate the spirit of competitive play, you know? So I think it's, you know, there's different types. And it's all good. As long as everybody's having fun, everybody agrees, I think there's no wrong way to play. Luckily, when I've run because I've run something similar to Crusades, I've run Fallout Wasteland Warfare, and that runs really well, and that can be done. It's fun because you have like your own settlements and stuff like that. Same thing with Fallout Factions. It plays a lot like Necromunda. Like, your gear can kind of carry you over. You can buy drugs and bring drugs in. It's good times. Or Kim's, I guess, technically. But I think that, and I'm gonna have to test this. I think that the trick to getting a good Crusade thing is not only having a good group of friends you trust, but getting a D&D group to play Crusade versus getting a Warhammer 40k group to play Crusade, you know? Yeah. Ooh. tubby German officer. Squig Hunter Sean, check out Victoria. Here, let me see if I can drop you a link. I think they have like this fat tanker guy. I think his name's like Tucky or something. You might be able to work with something like that. Let's see what we got here. I think it's Victoria. Victoria Miniatures. Yeah, they usually have a lot of like female conversions, but they have a couple good males. There's one of them as a tanker with like a bucket of fried chicken, and there's one of him as like a just a fat sergeant. Alright, I DM'd you a link. Show her, Sean. I figured if you give him a cape and trim down some of his 40k stuff and paint his uniform black, you know, you could probably make a fat Axis guy. Yeah, Stevie Cooper, I had something similar. So I had a really good group in 7th edition. A lot of people kind of shit on 7th edition, but I had a lot of fun because I had a good group. We had multiple guard players, a couple orc players, and then the competitive guys would come in every now and then, but they played at a different store. Oddly enough, the competitive guys didn't play at the Warhammer store. They played at like a different store. But a lot of us did we did a lot of Apocalypse games. And that was always a lot of fun. But we slowly did there weren't any special abilities, but we kind of had like named characters. Like I had one model that I kind of built after my wife, the chaplain in my Imperial Naval Force. I used a D&D miniature of a sorceress, but her staff, I kind of added an extra longer pole to it, and I put a flag on it. So she carried my squadron's, ensign, or carried my squadron's flag. And on the other hand, I just gave her like a Stig 44, so it's like an auto gun, because chaplains could carry auto guns back then. Or she was a priest, so a priest could carry an auto gun. So she was my priest character, and I gave her like a helmet and grenades and ammo pouch and an auto gun and a flag, So I ran that as kind of like a hero character. And same thing on my the door gunners or my Valkyries. Anytime they got a kill, like I'd write it down on my notes, and then later I'd get like a toothpick and put it in white paint, and I'd do like little like tick marks, like kill marks on the side of the door where the door gunner got someone, And I had a pair of Vendettas, and when they killed a Stampa in one of our Apocalypse games, I got these little like orc skulls from like the orc transfer sheet, and I put a skull on either side of the plane, and they were like the Stampa smashes. Yeah, so that's what's cool is I enjoy tabletop wargaming where the dice help you tell a story, Because it's better than you can ever come up with. If you try and write your own story, it could end up being very Mary Sue or Gary Stewish, where if you let the dice determine, what happens, it's always generally a lot of fun. And again, this is back in 7th when you could do allied. So I allied a Inquisition with my Imperial Navy, and so the servo skulls, I named each one of my servo skulls after like commanders I had that died in different battles. You know, that's the funny thing is because the lore behind my squadron is it was like they're Imperial Navy pioneers, and you find them in you read about them in the book. They're a throwaway reference in the book Double Eagle, right? And so they're kind of like Warhammer 40k version of CBs or Red Horse. And the thing is, for the Imperial Navy, it's not a very glorious, it's not a very glamorous unit, you know. And when you read about the Imperial Navy and Warhammer 40k, a lot of them are like nobles from like highborn families. So in order to be the squadron officer for like a pioneer unit that has to go like dirt side and build a base, like that's like the worst thing ever, like punishment. So there's always plenty of like midshipmen or ensigns they can always throw into that squadron. And same thing, the squadron isn't made out of naval armsmen. It's made out of like Imperial Guardsmen veterans that get left behind by their own units when they move on to the next planet in a crusade. You know, they leave behind like in the infirmary or the Medicae, and so they just patch together like veterans from all different units and throw them together. So it's basically like if you ever played the Ace Combat game, it's like Spare Squadron. You know, they're all just like people left behind, no one cares about, some of them convicts, and so their officer is always like the worst officer they can find in the Navy. So it's always like a midshipman or like an ensign that fucked up somewhere. So that's why like every time my officer dies, I'm like, it's fine, we can get another ensign, no big deal. No, I said a lot of people have bad memories of 7th, but I'm not gonna. I think it's the my gaming group, but I had a really good time with 7th edition. It still felt what it was. I like 7th edition because it felt like the 40k I read in the books. Like in high school, reading all the Gaunt's Ghost books and stuff like that, and then finally get to the point where I could buy Warhammer 40k models and play them. You know, it felt like I was going back to those books I read. 7th edition still felt like Warhammer 40k Black Library novels, you know? Then like when Cadia fell, Primaris Marines came around, I was just like, this doesn't seem like the lore I read. And they kind of like changed the Force org chart, and there's no points cost now. I'm like, So yeah, we're giving him a so we're going for a khaki uniform, tan khaki uniform with a green armor, and we're giving him leather belts and pouches and shit like that. I didn't play a lot of the Ace Combats better. I just know the story of the one that had the Spare Squadron. Like I said, I can't shit on 10th edition Warhammer 40k because I haven't played it, and that wouldn't be fair. So I'm trying to withhold judgment until I play. We'll see. Again, it's just me being an old salty grognard hipster. You know, I got left behind in the lore and I'm still trying to catch up. But I went back and read more about the lore. Like I said, if you go back on the channel, the very first Too Late Tonight with Tiki streams was me painting my first ever coming back to Warhammer 40k models. I built a kill team. I was so happy to do this. So I started reading more and more. I started reading about the war, but the Badab War, you know, and the Red Corsairs. I thought that was the coolest shit in the world. Like space pirates. I was like, fuck yeah, space pirates. And they weren't like trader marines, like heretical marines. They were just renegades. You know, they're not like full on worshiping all the chaos and selling their soul and growing tentacles and horns and shit. No, it's like, nah, fuck it, we're not paying taxes. Like, we're just gonna do our own thing. I was like, that's really cool. I like that. So I bought an old school box of tactical space marines, like OG marines, and I bought a whole bunch of bits to like kit bash them, and I kit bashed them into like legit, just like very recently renegade marines. You know, like not full on chaos god this or that, just straight up, just like, nah, we're tired of this shit. We're gonna do our own thing. And they're still Red Corsairs, and they have like the pauldrons for it, but they're also like they're their own like chapter called like the Sawtooth Squadron. So they're very like they're 100% geared towards zero-G combat, like boarding spaceships and stuff like that. So the cool thing is they have, and this is just like aesthetics wise, they use a lot of like drum mags. They do chainsaw bayonets instead of like chain swords. They do chain bayonets. You know, and they carry like a whole bunch of like gear on them, almost kind of like Raptors. You know, like when you look at them, they have like spare magazines and swords and like extra pistols and or like bolt pistols like everywhere. Because it's like once you board a ship, you only have what you carry with you, you know? I got the idea from like I'm trying to think of his name. One of the Spartans from Halo Reach, Emil, I want to say. I think his name's Emil. So if you remember how Emil looks in Reach, it's kind of what I went with. You know, I wanted like actual space pirates that look like space pirates. You know, because once you breach a ship, there's no resupply, so you have to bring all your stuff with you. All right. Let me grab my next color. But yeah, I love I'll always love the lore of 40k. I just kind of like the older lore. But that's why I like hearing like, God, watch people play Dawn of War, like the remaster. Just listening to Dawn of War sounds so good. But there is a video I watched today. My brother actually sent it to me. It's the guy who made the Dawn of War rules for tabletop Warhammer 40k. He's working on his Blood Angels and his Necrons. He just released the video yesterday. It's actually really good. That would be kind of fun to play, like an actual tabletop Dawn of War where you do like base building and making units and stuff and capturing resources. That'd be kind of cool. I think anything different, you know, anyone taking the time to do something different is pretty cool. So like it's kind of what they're talking about. Konflikt 47, what they're trying to go for is making stories that you'll tell like your grandkids. I think is their catch line, and that's kind of what I like. And that's what I liked about Warhammer 40k, like 7th edition, is there's a lot of it. And again, I'm sure there's a lot of, I remember Grey Knights and the Death Stars and, you know, visible Death Stars and stuff like that. I remember some of the bad times, but the good times outweighed it. Like some of the cool memories. I think one time we did one mission where my Imperial Guard or my Imperial Navy were helping out some, I think they were Imperial Fist Space Marines. We were trying to hold a spaceport for a certain amount of turns, you know, for all the civilians to get away, I guess. which doesn't really make sense for Imperial Fist. Makes more sense for Salamanders, I guess. But it's kind of like that level from Halo Wars, so, you know, where you're trying to hold the spaceports to allow civilians to get away. Except the oncoming force was Tyranids. Oh, dude, it was just absolutely lethal. We just kept letting them, like, respawn his Tyranids and just keep going at us, like, wave after wave. It was so good. I'll never forget, because I put out my Aegis defense line, and I had all my squads. I ran, like, veteran squads, and they had, like, camo cloaks to make them, like, better, you know, pioneers that they're good about taking defense. And I'll never forget, the sergeants ran bolters. There's a heavy weapons team with an autocannon. There's a flamer and a grenade launcher. So they were, like, pretty multi-missions. And I had them all on an A defense line. They were doing real well, and the Tyranids got behind the ADL. And it looked like Starship Troopers, man. They just absolutely ripped my guys to shreds. Hey, what's going on, Edskar? How you doing? We're just pinning up our Samuel Slammers here. Do it. You can fit trust me, you can fit a shit ton of Totem Core in the list. I built a Konflikt 47 list that had a shit ton of Siberian Terrors, which is pretty awesome. Now that's for first our OG Konflikt 47. I have no idea about the new edition, so we'll see when that comes out. I'm sure we'll have limb facts for that. All right, take it easy, Squig Hunter Sean. Let me know if you end up finding that fat access mod. I'll be kind of curious. I did warn you. I did warn you, Edskar, about anti-tank rifles and AA guns. I have found that is the best way to cut down those zombie hordes. I know AT rifles only one shot, but it generally puts them down. You know, I was like, AT rifles and AA guns. That is, if you don't have flamethrowers, one of the best way to put down zombies. Yeah, Ginny, you nailed it. Yeah, make your zombies pretty interchangeable. Like, let me see if I can find mine real quick. I'll show you what mine look like. Alright, so here's one of my Tiki Terrors. These are what my Shiobi, or I can even run them as Totem Core if I want. They have like little Tiki masks. But these were Mantis's King of War zombies. They were absolutely awesome. I don't think they make them anymore, sadly. Yeah, these are what my zombies look like, but I can run them. If I'm playing as Germans, I can run them as zombies too. You know, it's not a big deal. The scale's pretty damn good. So. Ironically, I feel like I'm the only person who hasn't ordered a Konflikt 47 starter kit. I pre-ordered in my local friendly gaming store. I said, put me down for a book. But that's it. Only because I haven't found out more about the Rift Dice. I just want to wait to see if there's certain colors that go with certain factions. If not, I'll get whatever color. Probably green. But I just want to make sure that green's not specifically for the Green Vault axis, you know? But, well, another good idea. I actually kind of got this idea from you, Edscar, looking at your spider hole for your Imperial Japanese. So if you're like me and you got multiple tanks from like tank platoons, you always get a tank commander. Now, if you don't want to put your guy halfway hanging out of a hatch, what it is, it's just like a chest high model, you know. But you could take all your unused tank commanders and turn those into zombies. All you gotta do is, like I said, you know, they're already cut off at the waist, so just put them in the ground and put like a little tombstone behind them. Or have them kind of like crawling out of the ground, have them like missing an arm, and just put on like a defaced head or put on like a skull or something like that, and then boom, you got a zombie. So it's a really good way to kind of make more zombies if you're not going to use your tank commanders, because they're just like a torso only model. Turn them into zombies, crawling out of the grave. Hey, what's going on, Painting Games? Nice, yeah, so yeah, that's all I was waiting for, it's just an official confirmation. But yeah, I'll probably tell him to put me down for a set of green dice then. Paint Games, are you talking about Konflikt 47? So for current Konflikt 47, like I said, I could tell you for current Konflikt 47, but I feel like that wouldn't be a good service to you, only because the new edition's coming very rapidly, you know? And I don't have the book for the new edition, so I can't quite tell you what the units have, but usually the standard British squad, or section, sorry. British section will have the same kind of weapons they had in World War II. There is something special called the Grenadier sections, or Grenadier squads. So they generally have access to, if I'm not mistaken, what they may or may not have access to. We'll see. You could have access to something like, kind of like an assault rifle style weaponry. You also do have, you know, SAS, SBS, and stuff like that, and they'll generally have more submachine guns. So I would wait a bit for the new book to drop, and that way you kind of have more of a informed decision before you kind of like jump into it. Or if you just want to jump into it, no harm, no foul. Based off what you're kind of asking about, like a specialized Konflikt 47 British troop that's still like an actual troop, I would look at the British Grenadiers. That might be what you're looking for. Yeah, there you go. That's what they currently have, but like I said, I was trying to avoid specifics because, again, we don't quite know what's coming with second edition. Some people know, but, you know, I don't want to give out bad information. I'd rather give lackluster information than bad information, if that makes sense. Yeah, no, I think that's gonna go well for you, painting games. I know everyone's in a hurry. I'm not trying to like rain on anyone's parade. I know everyone's like in a hurry to get Konflikt 47, which is cool. But, you know, my recommendation is just wait for the book to come out, take a look, take a cursory glance, and then pick some stuff up. I don't want to dampen the hype train. That's why I even made that little teaser video. I'm working on the teaser video for the Imperial Japanese right now, and it's pretty funny. Or I think it's funny. It's probably going to get me struck, but we'll see. So what I'm painting is the little head that he's stomping on. Gonna do a little blood coming out. No, you don't. I mean, you're gonna have to have like a platoon leader, but that can be made with like the bits that come in the box. There aren't again, I say this, so bear with me here. With current Bolt Action 3rd Edition and current Konflikt 47, we'll call like OG Konflikt 47. There aren't too many named characters. You do run across them, but they're not very popular. I mean, they're not very common. You just need a platoon leader, you know, and you can build that stuff in the box. It's how you want to denote him. Like sometimes they have a certain weapon load they can take. You know, like maybe they start with a pistol, and maybe they can take a rifle or some machine gun upgrade. Bolt Action Konflikt 47 is very WYSIWYG, so if you want to take an officer with a submachine gun, just model, you know, take the plastic bits from the kit, you know, get a guy in a nice looking uniform, maybe give him like what we call combo covers, or like a bus driver style hat, you know, give him some binoculars, you know, maybe like a pipe, maybe have him pointing, or a map, make him look important, you know, then just like sling an SMG in one hand and boom, there you go. There is a lot of good kit bashing in Bolt Action just naturally, and it's a lot of fun. You would, yeah, you do need a officer, but you don't have to buy like an officer specific model. You can, and there's a lot of really good ones out there. You know, there's a lot of great sculpts out there, and they actually sell specific officer models. I like to kind of build my own. That's just my thing. Yeah, Jin, exactly right. Yeah, anyone pointing, he kind of looks important. So Ed Scar, with that's gonna be. I know you have a good group, and you always talk about your good group, and that's awesome. That is very local dependent. Some places are very strict about WYSIWYG, so it's all gonna be about your local area. So do go with that as you may. So most places are pretty chill, and as long as you model it, as long as you try. Like I said, if you have like multiple flamethrowers, but you're like, hey, this flamethrower is a machine gun, but this flamethrower is a flamethrower, that's gonna get confusing. As long as you're like chill about it and you point it out, most people don't have an issue. But I wouldn't recommend that. I'd always err on the side of caution, you know? So. Ginny, Trooper. If you ever met Trooper, like I forget the number, like 527 or whatever. He's in Morning's chat. I played against him. We did like a Battle of Malta, and I have a picture. He actually has a kit bashed Mad Jack, and it looks amazing. His Mad Jack went up against one of my like samurai officers. It's funny, we actually agreed to a gentleman's duel. You know, like neither one of us would shoot at each other's officer team. We met in the middle of a street and had like a 3-on-3 melee in the middle of a street in Malta. It was so damn cool. That was a fun match. Paint games, what do you mean by marking my terrain as far as like what's considered like light cover or heavy cover? And what's a standard table? I mean, I have a 28mm scale table over here somewhere. I can pop that out for you real quick if you want to take a look. I don't think I understood the question, I apologize. Yeah, Ginny, I'll try and put a picture of that in the Penal Legion Gin Pop chat room. I'll put a picture of that battle in there. Yeah, it's so funny. We had a gentleman's agreement, and so like none of us shot. We like maneuvered our guys. Luckily, my guys were. Luckily, my Imperial Japanese won because they're fanatics. But it was close. It came down. It was pretty damn close. It was second edition. I didn't think about it, but yeah, it was second edition. That's right. I was doing blood around the head he's stomping on. No, so we did a 2-part battle for Malta. So this is like bolt action, but like alternate history. You know, it's me, Irish Trooper, and then later RK. So the first battle for Malta, it was 750 points of IJ and Snilf, Special Landing Force, and German Fallschirmjäger versus 1,500 points of British defenders. So, and our self-imposing rule for the bad guys was we were trying to sneak in via a ship. So it's like what units and vehicles could be fit on like a tramp steamer, you know? And so, what material do you use for your train? Oh, I buy mine. So this is just bought from Amazon. I think it's called like Ender Toys is the company name. We were talking about it earlier. I think the people who are more educated than I am about 3D printing called it FDM. I think it's what they called it. So, that's what they did. Me personally, I use a lot of MDF terrain from TT Combat, and I paint a lot of those up. Oh, table size, yeah, 6x4, yeah. So 6x4, I think is really good, but I think if you're playing 500 point, I'd break it down to 4x4. And if you're gonna do night fighting, I also recommend going for a smaller table. And if you haven't done it yet, this is for you, Edscar, for anybody else. If you enjoy bolt action, you haven't done it yet for 3rd edition, please take a look at the night fighting rules. They're complicated and a little clunky, but just absolutely stupid fun. I highly recommend it. I'm sure you guys probably have, you know, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but it is so much fun. So yeah, the first battle for Malta, we snuck in by ship. And the British were waiting for us, and we fought it to a draw, so therefore the British won. We said the British won, because we fought it to a draw, and they're the defenders, and they kind of like repelled us, you know, we didn't hold the docks, we couldn't bring in more reinforcements. So the second battle for Malta, being that Irish was Fallschirmjägers and I was Snilf, we're like, hey, we tried it the Snilf way by boat, let's try it the Fallschirmjäger way by, you know, jumping on the island. So we decided to do a night drop on a Maltese airfield. And that ended up in, we did the alternate rules for dropping. So, you know, you drop the dice where the dice land, you put your stick, you know, going off of it. That was a lot of fun. I lost a lot of guys from, like, parachuting into buildings and rocks and shit. And we also did night fighting rules. So the first couple turns, no one was really shooting, but it was absolutely close combat, like throat slitting. And then the sun came up and it just turned into a like fish in a barrel shoot. It got absolute. As soon as the sun came up on like the 3rd turn, it just turned into an absolute bloodbath. I'll look that up, Crate. I mean, I'll look that up, Commander. The story of Crate. It sounds almost like a Q ship. I love the story of Q ships. So I'll have to look that up, Commander. I appreciate it. Yeah, like I said, they are a bit clunky, and the weirdest one we figured out, what made night fighting rules difficult was how you do spotters and mortars. That's the part that really kind of threw us for a little while. And like I said, that's one of the best parts is when your local group, when you get used to each other, you set local rules, and that ends up being a lot of fun. Like, we have a local rule for our smoke, which we really like. You know, a 1's always a dud. You know, a 6 hits or whatever your dial-in hits, and then anything else that's a miss, your smoke still goes off, but it scatters 2d6. So it makes people actually use smoke more. So it's not just like Tau battle lines shooting each other. You know, like smoke actually comes into play. Because sometimes if you can't, because it's a fun option, if you can't like hit a tank, if you can't damage a tank, like a good example, if you're going up against like a Panther, and they're positioned well where you only have a frontal shot and you can't pierce that armor, you can at least maybe drop some smoke on him and just kind of like render him less combat effective. And then you can try and maneuver on him, you know? So making smoke viable in bolt action again kind of introduces more of a tactical gameplay, in my humble opinion. But like I said, that's a cool thing about bolt action there. They give you so many optional rules too. Like, I'm really excited. We're gonna be using, you know, deep water and shallow water. We'll be using some of the other kind of rules from the back, which we're really excited about. Yeah, it shouldn't even be here. It's kind of complex, but it's cool once you figure it out. The big thing we figured out for 3rd edition bolt action that I think really changed our gameplay was, and I always talk about it, was cover. Like, even this, like, look, it's a stone wall on top of a mountain. Like, this still only gives you light cover. You know, like the only way to get heavy cover is in a building or behind an armored vehicle, right? So by doing it that way, I felt like that changed the game a lot and made it less like, hey, everyone's behind heavy cover, we just take turns shooting at each other. You know, it's like a little bit different. I think when you have a lot less heavy cover on a game top, it makes it a little bit more exciting. It's a little less realistic, I guess, you know, because yes, stone masonry can be considered, you know, we're not going to get into the whole question of ballistics and stuff like that, but it's a little less realistic, but it keeps the game, I think, a little bit more fast-paced. So you kind of see the Captain's Samuel Slammers versus the Captain America model side by side. They're both kind of cool. Like I said, this guy you can get Anvil Industries. pretty cool. And they come with both types of shields, the round and the other one. Something I'm trying to decide, Edscar in the background. I think someone did it for Warhammer 40k, so I'm going to try and steal the bones from that and try and repurpose it. But I really want to do a train heist, especially for Konflikt 47. It could be for like Rift Tech or Artifacts, whatever you want. But I want to do a train heist, so I'm thinking like you'd have to limit it to, and this is just me spitballing, I think you have to limit it to like recon platoons, you know, and have your trucks so you can like move up side by side with the train. And what happens is all your terrain outside of the train moves from like left to right, you know, a couple inches each turn, and that kind of shows the terrain moving like think of it like a treadmill, you know how it keeps moving, like recycling almost, so your map kind of recycles like that, and then each time terrain goes off the map, you roll and kind of make it pop up randomly, you know, again, so it's kind of like a revolving map, if that makes sense. But I'd like to do a train heist. You know, both sides are kind of pulling up their trucks, like jumping guys onto the train, trying to like steal, kind of like Top Secret, you know, steal stuff and hop back off to your truck, you know, kind of fight on the train. Huh, oh, there it is. Like, where did that paint pot just go? I just had that in my hands. Yes, yeah, very similar to Gorka Morka, yep. Yeah, it's like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon, exactly, so much. Of course, and I think Edscar's familiar with this as well, you can also do something similar to Zona Alpha rules, where you have different anomalies on the board for like Konflikt 47 and Rift Tech, and when you get closer, you roll to see what it is. It could actually be a Rift Tech, or it could spawn like 10 zombies, and they're randomized. They go towards the closest player or the closest gunfire, you know, or it could summon like Shrek Wolfen, or it could be like a radioactive blast. So you can kind of combine Konflikt 47 with a little bit of Zona Alpha rules too. There's a lot of fun shit you can do. Hey, Mal, what's going on, buddy? Mal the Knife, the one and only, brother. How you doing? Yeah, exactly. They have to move or fall behind, and same thing. You know, with the terrain coming, they may have to move away from the train to get around the terrain. You know, and you're trying to throw your box into the truck. Yep, very similar. Yep. Yeah, I think I told you when I did my Zona Alpha and Gaslands 28 millimeter scale Mad Max style game. I combined those two rules to make like a Mad Max style thing. It was pretty cool. It played a lot like the Mad Max game that came out in 2015 that like not a lot of people played. Very similar to that. You like walked around, stole some parts to build your car, then raced your car in different towns. Nice. Can't wait to see your second Val, buddy. Nice. Ginny, a box that has good bits for that, or something I used when I made my my High Priest for my Cult of Imhotep, is I used a Frostgrave. Frostgrave has really good bits. So I used the Frostgrave. I want to say it's like the Wizard box. They have like Wizard and Wizard 2. 2 is generally always their female models too. But they have amazing bits. You don't get a lot of like bodies. You only get like 4 bodies in the box. But you get a shit ton of arms and hands and all sorts of cool like wizardry accessories. Like tons of books and tomes and like crystal balls and familiars and swords and wands and cool staves. Like all sorts of cool shit. So if you're doing like a green vault, like, you know, occult style stealing artifacts, one of those Frostgrave wizard boxes will suit you really, really well. But I think you already stole the bit you needed for your floating book. So for my priest for the cult of Imhotep, he actually has the book of he has the book of life and the book of the dead on either side. Like in his hand, he has like the gold book, and on his hip, he has like the black books. It's pretty cool. It's a fun little detail. But yeah, if you want like really cool cultists too, definitely take a look at Frostgrave. Frostgrave has some like cultist models too. Really good bits to utilize. Between their wizard and their cultist, you can find some badass, cool little kit bashing opportunities. Yeah, I actually used a mix of Frostgrave Ghost Arpelago natives. I think it's natives with my Wargame Atlantic Aztecs, and that's how I made my my Imperial Japanese militia, my riflemen. They're all like native militia, so they're all pretty cool. They look like kind of like islanders with rifles and shit like that. They're pretty neat. You can also swap out your Noxbian, you know, like the head he's stomping on. You can just use Frostgrave like snake people if you want, and just kind of like rephrase it as like your own style, you know, and make them like Yang T from D&D. You can do that shit too. Yeah, there's no shortage of badass shit you can do. That's why I saw a really good video. I take it back. Irish pointed me towards the video, and then I watched it. The guy, his channel's actually pretty good. Here, you know what? Let me do my due diligence and link it so you guys can see what video I'm talking about. So I'm not over here being an a-hole. Give me a second here while I try and find it. Oh, here we go. Perfect. So as you guys know, I'm not a huge fan of early access stuff. That always kind of grinds my gears a little bit. But this guy's actually a little bit critical of it, which is kind of cool. He talks about the scaling issue, like the scale creep between the new Fireflies versus the very recent release bolt action infantry. And again, these are Fireflies. These aren't, you know, they're not Paragon super soldiers that are like 6'6" or like 6'7", you know. These are just their Fireflies. And traditionally, airborne are generally a little bit shorter too, right? So he's talking about the scale creep and how some of the kit bashing, like the heads aren't interswappable between the two, and the arms require a little bit of work. And that's true of any good kit bashing. Good kit bashing requires a lot of work, right? But props on this guy for actually, you know, submitting a video. He has early access, and he's not critical just to be critical, in my opinion. He's actually pointing out, like, hey, just so you guys know ahead of time, you know, these aren't going to be very kit bashable, or they're kit bashable, just not easily convertible, if that makes sense, or interswappable. But at least he actually shows it the whole time. It's not just like showing his face and ranting. He's like showing you the models side by side. So it's a decent video about Konflikt 47. It's something that a lot of people are talking about. People have early access, probably because they have early access. Again, that's why I'm not a fan of early access. My opinions are my opinions. They're not swayed one way or the other. But, and the thing I told him is, or I kind of mentioned to him is, you don't have to use Warlord Games Firefly models. Some people like the way they look, and that's awesome. If you like them, more power to you. I see a lot of people buy the kits. It's awesome. Me personally, I like the Rocketeer, so all mine are Pulp figures. And they're the Rocketeer models. I think that looks a little bit cooler. A lot of my Konflikt 47, I have some actual Konflikt 47 units. Like I said, this guy's an actual Konflikt 47 unit, but then I also have, you know, third-party ones. I don't know. I like new kind of different stuff. I don't have any Totem Core, you know, ones, but look, I have these zombies. I have mummies. You never feel like you have to buy directly from them. I'm not trying to shit on Warlord Games, not at all. You know, kind of ought to do it right at the end of my stream, right? But I'm not shitting on them at all. I'm saying you don't always have to buy their models. So don't be afraid to like look around. Working Atlantic, Reaper Miniatures, Frostgrave, Stargrave, you know, if you really want to get weird with it. There's a lot of different stuff you can kind of kit bash and kind of repurpose, and that gets you more into the hobby. I just gotta recommend your short on the Scorpion Walker. Nice. Yeah, the shorts and the lore videos can be hard to make the more they go into Konflikt 47, because you know there's not documentary footage of those weird Rift Tech weapons, so I have to kind of get like weird with it, you know. But yeah, me personally, I always recommend kit bashing. But yeah, that'll be the tip I leave you guys with. If you need to build some zombies and you've built a couple tanks, and you have a couple leftover tank crewmen or tank commanders, and they're just like torso models, have them coming half out of the ground, you know, and cut one arm off and give them like a skull head or dilapidated head and make it a zombie. It's kind of a cool idea. Idea's inspired by Ed Scar's, you know, spider hole Imperial Japanese guys. It's kind of a cool idea, so definitely something to look at. But not bad. We got some painting done. We finished the piece of terrain, which is kind of cool. Another piece of terrain. It's not the best, but hey, it's another piece. We're getting that ready for the beach landing map for Clash of the Caribbean. And we got some paint down on this guy. He's probably like, I'll probably finish him tomorrow, actually. And then all I have left of my first vow is my mummies back here, which are my count as Totem Core, so that's actually pretty nice. As far as what's going on behind the scenes, I am doing some recording. I'm working on some more, that teaser, that USA teaser apparently went over kind of well, so apparently people were just hungry for second edition stuff, so I'm going to try and come out with the other teasers, and then finish up with the lore videos. I am recording for a secret project behind the scenes. I'm working with a good buddy of mine, something kind of cool, but it does involve some recording, very intensive recording. I'm learning a shit ton about audio recording, so it's a secret project, taking a lot of my time in the background. And the other thing I'm really doing that you'll see from this channel is I'm trying to get a good video out for Clash of the Caribbean, to kind of explain how that works. You know, for the people going this year and for the people who might want to go next year if we do it again. But like I said, stay tuned. I'll try and keep posts about some of the stuff I'm working on. The current teaser I'm working on is for the Empire of Japan. And I think next after that I'll probably do maybe the UK, and maybe the Soviets, and then the Germans. We'll see where we go from there. But I appreciate you guys, you know, hanging out for a little while. We're gonna go ahead and call it. I know it's a couple minutes early, but it was a good stream. We got a lot of painting done. We had a lot of cool chatting done. We got to hear another funny story. Apparently you guys like my stories, which is kind of good. So you got to hear about the time I almost got shot with a shotgun. Good times. Absolutely good times. That was a long night. That makes this night look like nothing. But if you guys are headed off to sleep like I am here soon, I hope it's actually completely uneventful sleep. I hope nothing crawls from underneath the bed and grabs you by your ankles and pulls you under the bed and chews you apart like a wood chipper. You guys are headed to work. I hope the best parking spot underneath the shaded tree right by the front door is ready for you. And as always, I hope you guys stay safe, stay hydrated, and don't forget to relax today. 'Cause you're on Tiki time.
Shipwrecked soldiers on Moto sand, type today, rifles in hand. Hula gals with summer smiles, no war drums, just beach for miles. Ghost park by Tiki lights, shadows dance in tropic nights. Sand beneath where boots once stood, paradise ain't so misunderstood. Lost in waves and hula tunes, tiki drinks and months of booze. Forgot the fight in distant lands, just surf and play with tired hands. Bunkers built from palm and hope, coconuts and crude soap. Imperial dreams fade in sun, warriors turn beach bums. Shine to ocean gods we raise, praying for forgotten days. Sake in the campfire glow, life's a surfboard